Chapter 11:19. Tao Master Qingyi felt a slight palpitation in her heart at this moment. This feeling was quite strange to her, as if it only existed in a very distant memory. But at this time, she had this feeling again. The feeling was not strong, nor was it clear. It was so vague that people would think it was an illusion. However, for Tao Master Qingyi, it was already abnormal for her to have such a feeling. Yun Yuanzhen looked at Tao Master Qingyi and asked, "Master, is it because Shi Tianhao didn't enter the formation?" Xianlin Taoist looked at the light and shadow in front of the three people, which showed the scene inside and outside the ancient formation. He said, "It's related to his parents, so he should be the most anxious. If the ancient formation is unpredictable, it's normal for Zhu Yi, who has a magic treasure of creation, to enter it. But Shi Tianhao didn't enter it himself, but Wang Lin did. This is really abnormal. Have they discovered some clues, or are they worried about something?" The thousands of emotions in Xianlin Taoist's eyes, which seemed to be both affectionate and emotionless at the same time, disappeared. Outside the ancient formation, Shi Tianhao and Li Yuanfang also stared at the formation in front of them, which seemed to be about to explode at any time. Li Yuanfang turned to look at Shi Tianhao and said, "Someone else is manipulating the formation, and his cultivation is extremely high." Shi Tianhao was expressionless, and his divine sense kept searching in the void. He asked, "Is he inside the formation or outside?" "He's outside the formation, but he can activate and control the formation without entering it. He must be the person who set up the formation, or he has a treasure specially prepared by the person who set up the formation. This ancient formation didn't exist here for a long time, but was specially set up here by someone." Li Yuanfang shouted in a low voice. As the light flashed above his head, a tall giant with 4 faces and 8 arms appeared in the void. The 8 arms stirred the 8 trigrams, and in front of the 4 faces, there was a shining door. Inside a door, there was a raging fire, full of the destructive power of destruction and slaughter. It was extremely fierce, as if it wanted to burn, destroy, and slaughter everything with the fire. Inside a door, there was a raging wind, and a black tornado kept surging, but it was silent. When people looked at it, they felt as if they had fallen into an unconscious sleep. Inside a door, thousands of sand and dust spread out and filled the void. The fine sand was black, but it flashed with white light. Thousands of sand and dust gathered together, forming a vast expanse of white. Inside a door, there seemed to be surging water, and it was like the galaxy in the sky, flashing with light, showing the infinite changes of the stars. This was the Dharma form that Li Yuanfang had formed after reaching the late-stage nascent soul stage. Li Yuanfang conjured his heaven and earth manifestation and then used the true insight treasure mirror array technique. Purple light flashed around him and turned into mysterious runes above his head. These talismans were arranged according to a unique pattern, and in an instant, they formed a small but exquisite and complicated circular formation, like a round mirror. All the talismans gave off a dazzling light, and they gathered together to form a mirror-like light beam, shining towards the ancient formation. Countless talisman patterns appeared in Li Yuanfang's eyes, and he said in a low voice, "The other party's cultivation is very high, and they are using the formation to suppress second senior brother's Permitha bridge. With the formation concealing it, I can't see the foundation of their Tao and identity. But time is very tight. If second senior brother and the others can't rush out soon, the formation will be activated." Shi Tianhao asked, "Can you determine where they will be teleported to?" Li Yuanfang shook his head. "No, I can only confirm that it is a fixed teleportation, and not a random one. The destination is very clear, and there is a force guiding it. But through the formation, I can't see the origin of this force, and I can't determine where the destination is." Shi Tianhao's eyes were cold. If Master and Mr. Miao didn't warn us, it would be hard to guess. But now, it seems that the force is most likely from the Haotian mirror, and the confirmed destination is most likely the Xianhai. Li Yuanfang's usually calm face was now filled with rage. When the spirit formation is activated to the maximum, it will annihilate the world within a radius of 10,000 li into nothingness. Not even the aura of magic power and traces will be left behind. There will be no way to trace who did it, and not a single trace will be left. If we can't find the person who activated the formation, we can't help second senior brother and the others outside. The ancient formation was in harmony with heaven and earth. Under the violent turbulence, it also caused the whole world to shake, and the weather to change like a disaster. Within a radius of 10,000 miles, heavy rain poured down, the wind howled, lightning flashed, and thunder roared. Dark clouds kept rolling and gathering, and then were torn into pieces by the thunder. The earth shook violently, causing strong earthquakes, and large rifts appeared. What was even more terrifying was that the shattered soil and rocks were turning into dust bit by bit, and then dissipating without a trace, turning into ashes. The raging wind, rain, and thunder in the sky were also constantly being annihilated. Before the rain could fall, it turned into nothingness. Lightning streaked across the horizon as if it was tearing the sky apart. However, it strangely disappeared between heaven and earth and came to an abrupt stop. The scene of doomsday gradually appeared between heaven and earth, as if the whole world was about to be annihilated into nothingness. The operation of the giant ancient formation became more and more urgent. It had reached the edge of activation, and at the same time, it was on the verge of collapse. Shi Tianhao didn't speak. His divine sense kept sweeping the void, searching for the whereabouts of Tao Master Qing Yi and the others. Tao Master Qing Yi, Xianlin Taoist, and Yun Yuanjin stared at Shi Tianhao and Li Yuanfang. Tao Master Qing Yi frowned and didn't say anything. Shi Tianhao and the others seemed to have noticed something, but it's very difficult for them to find us. Yun Yuanjin asked, Master, should we continue? Success is in front of us. Xianlin Taoist's gaze also fell on the ancient formation. Zhu Yi and the Permitha Golden Bridge can no longer hold the ancient formation. The ancient formation is about to be completely activated. Tao Master Qing Yi's eyes were a little deep. If Shi Tianhao and the others have noticed it in advance, it means that the master of the celestial sect of wonders, Lin Feng, is most likely also alarmed. The reason why I was uneasy before was not because of Shi Tianhao and Zhu Yi, but because of Lin Feng. Yun Yuanjin and Xianlin Taoist also frowned when they heard this. They didn't know when Lin Feng would arrive, and they didn't know how much Shi Tianhao and the others knew, so Tao Master Qing Yi and the others were temporarily in a dilemma. If they could completely activate the formation before Lin Feng arrived, they didn't have to worry for the time being even if the three of them didn't have time to retreat and were blocked by Lin Feng. Although the two sides would completely fall out because of this, Lin Feng would enter the mysterious sea to save people no matter how angry he was. Tao Master Qing Yi took a deep breath. Yuanjin, leave this place with Xianlin immediately and contact senior brother Tai and senior brother Zhengyi. I will handle this alone. Yun Yuanjin's expression changed slightly, but he knew that it was not the time to waste time. He nodded heavily. Yes, Master, I will obey. Xianlin Taoist also nodded. Yes, Uncle Master Qing Yi. After saying that, the two of them turned around and left. At the same time, they began to contact Shoichi Dashin, who was in infinite wilderness but had avoided attracting attention, and Tai Master, who was waiting for news on White Cloud Mountain. However, before they could leave, they suddenly heard a thunderous voice. Since you're here, why are you in such a hurry to leave? The voice seemed to resound in the extremely distant void. In the next moment, purple aura suddenly surged out of the void in the vast outer space. After breaking through the void, endless purple aura appeared on Tianhuang mainland in the Great Thousand World. The wind and rain suddenly stopped. Although there were still lightning flashing, no one could hear the sound of thunder and lightning. The vast purple aura froze everything and isolated everything. Although the doomsday scene in front of them was still the same, the feeling was completely different. Everyone could only see the vast purple aura surging from the endless void like a dragon. It filled hundreds of millions of miles, boundless and endless. Amidst the tumbling purple clouds, 49 tiny specks of dust lined up, forming a straight line. The specks of dust lit up, turning into small worlds, layer upon layer, like a shining staircase descending from the sky. The four elements of earth, water, fire, and wind broke through the chaos, and the 8 trigrams re-established the universe, crawling together under the radiant staircase. A young man in purple slowly walked down from the top of the staircase. As he walked, there was a faint celestial singing that lingered in the sky for a long time. Yun Yuanjun and Xianlin Taoist were slightly stunned. The master of the celestial sect of wonders. Lin Feng. Dao Master Qing Yi was expressionless, but his eyes were cold without the slightest warmth. Lin Feng was still dressed in a purple robe. His hair was loose and unbound, and there was a Tai Chi pattern on his forehead that seemed to contain the infinite great Tao of heaven and earth. He walked down the staircase slowly, but Yun Yuanjun and Xianlin Taoist didn't want to take the opportunity to escape. The surrounding world and the void outside the sky were all shrouded by purple aura and completely sealed off. Only the hazy mirror light above Dao Master Qing Yi's head was still faintly flashing. When Lin Feng arrived, he broke the void and dispersed the smoke. Dao Master Qing Yi and the others were naturally exposed to Shi Tianhao and Li Yuanfang. Shi Tianhao and Li Yuanfang looked at them coldly and then bowed to Lin Feng together. "Greetings, Master. Thank you for your hard work. Rise." Lin Feng waved his hand and then turned to look at Dao Master Qing Yi and the others. His face was expressionless, and his eyes were cold and indifferent. Li Yuanfang had never seen Lin Feng like this since he entered the sect, so he couldn't help but be slightly stunned. Meanwhile, a very distant memory in Shi Tianhao's mind began to recover. In his memory, his master had always been calm. The last time he saw Lin Feng like this was not long after he became Lin Feng's disciple. In order to protect him and Zhu Yi, Xiao Yan was seriously injured. That was the first time he felt this kind of chilling feeling from his master. If Shi Tianhao felt like this, then Dao Master Qing Yi and the others who were facing Lin Feng were needless to say. But before they could open their mouths, Lin Feng had already extended his right hand with an indifferent expression, grabbing towards them through the air. Chapter 11:20. Lin Feng opened his right palm and grabbed toward Dao Master Qing Yi and the other two. Endless purple chi surged and formed a huge purple hand that covered the sky. The huge pressure almost suffocated Yun Yuanjun and Xianlin Taoist. Seeing this, Dao Master Qing Yi had no time to speak. His body flashed with mysterious taishu light, and at the same time, 2 Dao fruits appeared beside him. The Dao fruit on the left was half black and half white. On the surface of the Dao fruit, black and white stripes crisscrossed. The Dao fruit on the right flashed with golden light, and a large number of dazzling talisman characters floated out, turned into golden clouds, and floated around the Dao fruit. When the 2 Dao fruits were combined, a 9-story pagoda appeared. It was like the center of the universe, attracting everything around it to gather. This pagoda seemed to have the ability to suck in the stars and change the moon. It could absorb the whole world, even a creation world. However, it was useless. "Can you accept this?" Lin Feng said faintly. A light spot flew out from between his eyebrows and quickly expanded in the void, turning into a giant magic formation. Countless complex formation patterns operated together, driving a terrifying power. In the center of the magic formation, a huge 4-legged square tripod stood there, giving off an extremely heavy feeling. It was as if the power of the entire divine land and the boundless world was suppressing it. Under the combination of the yin and yang life and death formation and the ding of Shenzhou, the majestic power pressed down in an incomparably arrogant manner. Suddenly, Dao Master Qing Yi could not move. The 9-story pagoda flashing with mysterious light kept shaking, struggling to bear the heavy weight. "Today, none of you can leave." Lin Feng's purple chi hand was still grabbing toward Xianlin Taoist and Yun Yuanjun. Xianlin Taoist frowned, and his indifferent eyes showed some fluctuations. The boundless world has changed so much in less than a decade. What on earth is this? Without hesitation, Xianlin Taoist immediately manifested his supreme nirvana Dao fruit. A white halo appeared, not distorted or deformed, as if it was a power that no disaster could destroy. These white halos gathered together to form a mysterious Dao fruit. At the same time, 6 colored halos appeared in front of Xianlin Taoist. The halos were of different colors, and the scenes in the halos were also different. It was as if there were 6 independent little worlds that were supporting Xianlin Taoist at the same time. Divine light surged from his body in an instant. It was the 7th heaven of the 9 heavens of Taishu technique, the 6 divine armaments of harmonious heaven. With the help of the 6 small worlds, Xianlin Taoist pointed at his own Tao fruit of nirvana in the electric box. Immediately, a 6-colored divine light shot toward Lin Feng's purple hand. It was as if several worlds were annihilated at the same time, producing a terrifying force that seemed to want to shatter the entire void, penetrating through heaven and earth. The divine light of 6 colors shot out. Although it was a straight line, it caused the surrounding void of the universe to distort violently and be crushed together. Such a terrifying power could already be considered top tier among Tao integration stage cultivators. The Underworld Hall Master, Su Anda, looked down on most Tao integration stage cultivators. He stood at the peak of human cultivators who had yet to experience tribulations, and he had mastered the teachings of the King of the Underworld to perfection. However, he might not be able to defeat Xianlin Taoist's terrifying attack even if he were to use his most powerful killer move, Soul Cry Canopy. Lin Feng nodded his head indifferently. The Taishu Tao art lives up to its name. However, it was still useless. If it were any other place, Xianlin Taoist's divine light of 6 colors could stir up chaos in the universe. However, when it came into contact with the surrounding purple gas, the void immediately calmed down and stopped shaking. As for Lin Feng's terrifying purple gas hand, a hole suddenly appeared in the center of his palm. The void of the universe was completely shattered, turning into the surging earth, water, fire, and wind. The earth, water, fire, and wind quickly calmed down again and turned into an illusory and ethereal big bubble. The bubble burst, and 2 airflows, one turbid and one clear, floated up as the sky, and the other sank as the earth. It was as if the creation of the world was reenacted. The majestic force enveloped the terrifying divine light of 6 colors, which seemed like the end of the world, and it was forcibly fixed and unable to move. At the same time, a chaotic and hazy light suddenly emerged from the purple gas hand and spread to the surroundings. Everything became hazy and unclear, as if there was only a dim gray left. Lin Feng's purple gas hand combined with the power of the primeval heaven opening technique and the celestial aura light and continued to move forward. It directly held the divine light of 6 colors and Xianlin Taoist in its palm. Tao Master Qing Yi's expression changed slightly. The hazy mirror light above his head separated and shot toward Lin Feng. On the surface of Lin Feng's purple gas hand, a 7-colored halo appeared, and the brilliance kept flowing. The mysterious heavenly escape was called an escape method, but it was not just a teleportation escape method. It was a magical method that deduced the changes of time and space to the top level, and at the same time, integrated a variety of other great ways of heaven and earth into it. As the 7-colored halo flashed, it isolated the hazy mirror light. Tao Master Qing Yi's eyes were cold, and he wanted to strengthen the mirror light, but the purple gas hand had already taken back the Xianlin Taoist. Xianlin Taoist was still struggling, but Lin Feng increased the strength of his hand, and suddenly he was in so much pain that his primordial spirit was almost unable to maintain a human shape. In the vast purple aura, another giant hand appeared and grabbed at Yun Yuanjun. Yun Yuanjun sighed softly, put her palms together in front of her chest, and then slowly separated them, as if pulling out an invisible long sword. As her hands separated to the sides, a bright sword light like autumn water appeared between her palms, constantly flowing and flashing, and it was breathtaking. It was vast like smoke and clouds, surging like a river, as heavy as the earth, and as resolute as a lonely peak. As the sword light flowed, it seemed to show all things in the divine land, but it was not as solid and heavy as Ding of Shenzhou. Instead, it was as ethereal and vast as the wind and clouds in the sky, as if looking down on all things in the world from the sky, and as if everything in the world was reflected in the sky. Ancient Sword Tai Ching. It was the ancient sword Tai Ching, which was on the same level as the ancient sword Tiangang and the ancient sword Sangming in the Shushan sword sects collection. All the emotions on Yun Yuanjin's face disappeared in an instant, becoming empty, and her eyes were calm, without the slightest fluctuation. She gently pointed at the ancient sword Tai Ching, and it flew into the air. Yun Yuanjin herself put her palms together, and white light emerged, forming a Dao fruit in front of her. Yun Yuanjin and her Dao fruit fell on the ancient sword Tai Ching together, and her body and sword became one. Then, the streak of sword light spun in the air and shot out rapidly, trying to break through the purple qi and escape. Lin Feng glanced at her. According to the rumors, Yun Yuanjin was the youngest member of the Taishu Temple's Grand Supreme Elders, and she was the latest to enter the Grand Supreme Elders. However, when she returned to the void and fused with the Tao, she cultivated the void yin-yang Tao. Now, she had cultivated the Tao fruit of the Supreme Wangqing Tao. This speed of progress was considered rare in the Taishu Temple. At this moment, in actual combat, a Tao integration powerhouse teamed up with a Mahayana grade, sharp sword Tao Dharma treasure, and their lethality was even more shocking. In particular, the person controlling the sword was Yun Yuanjin from the Taishu Temple. However, Yun Yuanjin's mind was extremely clear. She did not try to take the initiative to attack Lin Feng, only hoping to break through the trap of the purple qi in the void with the Supreme Wangqing sword first, and then plan. She became one with the sword, and the sword shook the sky. Majestic sword will swept out, as if ascending to the heavenly Tao. The Supreme Wangqing sword was emotionless, and she looked calmly at the world and all living things. Above the sword light, white sword qi swirled. She had actually fused part of the Shushan immortal sword Qi's sword will into her own sword Tao. Not only was she not restricted by the immortal sword Qi, but she also used it to strengthen her own sword Tao. Everything in the world could be a sword, and everything was under her control. She was not the Emperor of Swords, but she seemed to stand on a more transcendent height, silently looking down on all the swords in the world. However, it was still useless. Have you been hiding your strength all this time, or have you become brave after being defeated by the heavenly enchantress back then? Lin Feng's expression was indifferent. However, half-baked thing, don't embarrass yourself in front of me. Lin Feng's index and middle fingers were like a sword, and a chaotic and terrifying sword light with indistinguishable color and shape appeared. The sword slashed towards the sword light formed by the fusion of Yun Yuanjin and the ancient Tai Ching sword. It was the peerlessly terrifying heaven-punishing sword Qi that could destroy all things. With one sword, it could destroy all things and slaughter the world. The heaven-punishing sword Qi flashed and directly cut the sword light of Yun Yuanjin's heaven sword of indifference into two. Yun Yuanjin and the ancient Tai Ching sword's soaring momentum immediately stopped, and they fell into the void again. Yun Yuanjin's waist and abdomen were split open, and a terrifying wound was formed. Her face was as pale as paper, and her eyes were lifeless. It was almost impossible for her to maintain her human form. The huge wound was twisted and torn, and no matter how hard Yun Yuanjin tried, she could not heal it. The sword light on the surface of the ancient Tai Ching sword completely dimmed, and the bright sword light disappeared as if it was covered in a layer of dust. In the center of the blade, there was a blood-red crack that was shocking to see. This Mahayana grade treasure suffered the same fate as Yun Yuanjin, and it was almost cut in half at the waist. It was an extremely tragic end. Lin Feng's giant hand of purple qi that blotted out the sun grabbed Yun Yuanjin and Xianlin Taoist together. Dao Master Qingyi shook his head, stretched out his right hand, and pointed at the hazy mirror light above his head. The mirror light suddenly became brighter, and even the outline became clearer. A majestic power shook the void, and the vast purple qi that filled the void trembled slightly. Lin Feng's expression did not change at all. Light flickered in the air above his head and a huge white jade celestial mountain appeared. The surface of the celestial mountain and tree flashed with a complex and difficult to understand seven-colored light, combining with the circles of seven-colored light surging around Lin Feng's body. It made Lin Feng seem like he was in an unknown place in the void. Even that hazy mirror light, with its current strength, was unable to capture a trace of him. The next moment, Lin Feng pointed at the ancient formation, and the ancient formation suddenly opened. A golden light came out of it, and it was Zhu Yi and Wang Lin who stepped on the Nirvana Golden Bridge to escape. What happened next made Dao Master Qing Yi's expression change. Since you're so concerned about Xianhai, I'll help you out. Lin Feng smiled coldly, and the giant hand of purple qi directly smashed Yun Yuanjun and Xianlin Taoist into the ancient formation. Chapter 1121. Dao Master Qing Yi's expression changed abruptly. He put his palms together, and the hazy mirror light above his head turned and shone toward the heaven-earth ancient formation. The mirror light extended into the ancient formation and wrapped around Xianlin Taoist and Yun Yuanjun, trying to bring them out. But the tip of Lin Feng's heaven-punishing sword Qi turned, its target already pointing straight at Dao Master Qing Yi himself. The violent chaotic sword beam fell down, directly cutting apart the 9-story pagoda that was already shaking non-stop under the yin and yang life and death formation. Dao Master Qing Yi's face was as calm as water. The Taishu light around him flashed violently, and the 2 Dao fruits appeared in his hands again to rebuild the pagoda. Lin Feng looked indifferent. In the depths of his void-returned Dharma body, where others couldn't see, a real spirit divine pattern shone brightly. As he changed his Dharma gesture, the stars in the sky shook together, and the orbit of hundreds of millions of stars seemed to change at this moment. As the majestic power flashed, a scene seemed to appear in front of Dao Master Qing Yi. In the dark starry sky, countless stars flickered and changed positions together. Under the shock of the huge power, the Taishu light around Dao Master Qing Yi became unstable, and even the mirror light above her head became more and more blurred, as if it would disappear at any time. How? Dao Master Qing Yi, who had always been calm and indifferent, opened his eyes wide in surprise. Of course, Lin Feng didn't wear out the power of the Haotian mirror, but his divine sense and Dharma spell affected Dao Master Qing Yi's ability to guide the power of the Haotian mirror here. The Haotian mirror's real body wasn't here, but Dao Master Qing Yi used a secret method to guide its power across the void. However, under the influence of Lin Feng's divine sense and Dharma spell, Dao Master Qing Yi's secret method seemed to be unable to continue. The great way divine sense and Dharma access Lin Feng had obtained from the yin and yang fusion scripture was changing heaven and earth. Under the effect of the divine sense of changing heaven and earth, Dao Master Qing Yi's body trembled. He felt that he was gradually unable to receive the power of the Haotian mirror. At the same time, Lin Feng put his palms together. The power of the yin and yang original origin magical realm also fell and covered Dao Master Qing Yi, making her unable to move. Streams of Dharma power cut down and kept wearing down her divine sense and Dharma power. Under the joint effect of the cosmos reversal and the yin and yang returning to origin wondrous realm, Dao Master Qing Yi's nascent soul shook and twisted violently, almost unable to maintain its original form. Lin Feng's eyes flashed, and he pointed his finger. A beam of light flew out from Dao Master Qing Yi's nascent soul and landed in front of Lin Feng. Lin Feng glanced at it and said, "A talisman made from the power of the Haotian mirror and the seawater of the mysterious sea? No wonder it can guarantee sending people into the mysterious sea. Moreover, it's probably sending them straight into the depths of the mysterious sea. In addition, it can restore such a complicated and powerful ancient formation in a short period of time without revealing any flaws. The Taishu temple does have a profound foundation. Most of the time, it doesn't show its direct combat power, but it can play an unexpected role. If it's used properly, it's better than pure power." The confidence of the First Holy Land is vividly displayed in these inadvertent bits and pieces. Lin Feng looked indifferent and praised, "There are endless unknown means, and it's really hard to guard against them. I've unknowingly stepped into your center." Although he was praising, Lin Feng's calm tone made Dao Master Qing Yi frown and feel a chill in her heart. Sure enough, Lin Feng flicked the talisman into the ancient formation, and the ancient formation, which had been fixed by Lin Feng's mighty purple qi, began to shake violently again. Dao Master Qing Yi's face was so gloomy that it seemed as if water could drip from it. He saw Lin Feng calmly turn his head and look at her indifferently, as if he was looking at a lifeless object. As the most senior elder of the Taishu temple with the highest cultivation, Dao Master Qing Yi had never experienced such an experience in thousands of years. The last time she was stared at like this was during the war between the two realms more than 4,000 years ago. The expert who stared at her was Yu Huang Tianhai. If it weren't for her master, Dao Master Purple Court, the elder of the Taishu Temple from the previous generation, she would have died in the battle of the Great Lane Temple. However, her master, Dao Master Purple Court, was killed by Yu Huang Tianhai's attack. This familiar and strange feeling of helplessness made Dao Master Qing Yi's primordial spirit tremble even more. She shouted in a low voice, and streams of flowing light surged around her body, which became unstable and tyrannical. She wanted to break free from the shackles of Lin Feng's Yin and Yang restoration realm. Among the four elders of the Taishu Temple, the most unyielding one was not the radical leader Shoichi Dashin, but Dao Master Qing Yi, who was a woman. At this time, her pupils suddenly changed color. Her left pupil was half black and half white, constantly blending and changing, while her right pupil flashed with golden light and overflowed with white clouds. At this moment, Dao Master Qing Yi's primordial spirit completely lost its human form and turned into a 9-story pagoda. In this state, she exerted her strength to the extreme, but it couldn't last long, and it would cause serious damage to her primordial spirit. However, in order to break out of the encirclement, Dao Master Qing Yi couldn't care so much at this moment. But it was useless. Dao Master Qing Yi's struggle was in vain. Those flowing lights were all crushed by the powerful force of the Yin and Yang restoration realm, which seemed to be able to heal the world again. The originally shining 9-story pagoda gradually became mottled and old, losing its luster. Suppressed by Lin Feng's Yin and Yang restoration realm, it couldn't move and could only struggle to support itself. But it was like a walnut in a huge stone mill, and it could only watch itself being crushed step by step. In the distant sky, the void was shaking, and the purple clouds were rolling, as if they were about to be broken from the outside. Lin Feng calmly turned his head and said, "Shoichi Dashin, it's been a long time since we parted in the Star Sea." Shoichi Dashin's voice came from the dark void, "Master of the Celestial Sect of Wonders, please show mercy." Lin Feng said indifferently, "When you schemed against my disciples and sent them into the mysterious sea, did you think about showing mercy?" Although it was still uncertain whether Tenryu Zhen had recovered from his tribulation, as long as he and the Kunlun Dragon King were both in the mysterious sea, they didn't need to fear any force in the great Tianyuan world as their enemy. Even the Haotian mirror in its perfect state couldn't guarantee that it could forcibly break into the mysterious sea. Once Shu Yi, Shi Tianhao, Wang Lin, and the others were sent into the depths of the mysterious sea, the dragon tribe naturally accepted them without hesitation. They first took revenge on Lin Feng for all the enmity they had with him in the past. The majestic white jade Jing mountain directly flew out of the purple clouds, and another mountain surrounded by white clouds stood in the void. It was as vast as the sky and as heavy as the ground, as if this mountain was a world of its own. That mountain was currently held in the palm of an old man with white hair and beard. It was Shoichi Dashin, who was of the same generation as Lord Qing Daoist. Shoichi Dashin's eyes narrowed slightly when he saw the white jade Jing mountain. 2 Dao fruits appeared in his palm. One of them was flowing with light, and countless talisman characters appeared from it. A long river seemed to have appeared in the dark and tranquil void of the universe, meandering forward. Time flowed continuously like water, unable to be stopped. As for the other Dao fruit, black and white energies intertwined and spiraled, as if there were countless small black and white stripes rolling together. However, each of these black and white stripes was clear. There wasn't a hint of mixing between black and white, and they didn't blend together. Instead, they reflected a perfect state of integration, mysterious and unfathomable. These 2 Dao fruits were the 2 great Dao fruits that Shoichi Dashin had cultivated with the Supreme Light Dao and the Yin-Yang Dao Cycle Dao. As Shoichi Dashin put his palms together, the river of time and the black and white vortex merged together into the towering mountain in front of him. At the same time, the towering mountain also flashed with the mysterious light of the Taishu mystic light, which went towards the white jade Jing mountain. However, at the top of the white jade Jing mountain, a huge silver-white dragon flashing with 4-colored lightning flickered in and out of the black and white thunderclouds. The dragon could only see its head but not its tail. The huge body of Lin Feng's Brontosaurus clone flickered, sometimes turning into a majestic body of qi and blood, sometimes turning into an illusory shadow of flowing light. The Qiankuan changing magic was activated by the Brontosaurus clone again. The billions of stars in the universe seemed to tremble at the same time. As for the Taishu mystic light that Shoichi Daishin had added to the towering mountain, it immediately dimmed. The next moment, the white jade Jing mountain and the mountain formed by Shoichi Daishin's magic collided, and the mountain was smashed into pieces by the force of the white jade Jing mountain. This immortal mountain seems to be stronger than before. Shoichi Daishin looked up and saw that at the top of the white jade Jing mountain, the mysterious heaven treasure tree was emitting a light that looked like a crystal barrier, and the chaotic and hazy light that the white jade Jing mountain was emitting merged with the cyclic purple qi, manifesting as auspicious clouds that looked like white jade. Next, the white jade Jing mountain took the initiative to crush him. At this moment, a bright light suddenly lit up in the void in the distance. The light was so dazzling, as if it was the only real thing in the world, and also the core of the entire vast thousand domains. Wherever the light went, everyone's attention was attracted, and everyone seemed to be overshadowed by this light. Shrouded by the light, the entire void of the universe seemed to come to a standstill. Everything and everyone fell into a state of stillness, and their own images were reflected in the light. However, it was not moving, but like a still painting. Although it was still far away, the vast purple qi that Lin Feng had used to stabilize the void began to fluctuate violently, and the white jade Jing mountain's movements also became sluggish. Haotian mirror. Senior brother Tai Yi. Shoichi Daishin and Dao Master Qing Yi both became spirited. Dao Master Qing Yi mustered his remaining courage and was about to break through Lin Feng's suppression. What are you guys so happy about? Lin Feng's calm voice sounded at this time. Before his voice died away, the yin and yang life and death formation that was suppressed by Ding of Shenzhou began to change with the two extremes. Endless light and power condensed into a huge palm. The majestic power of the two extremes combined with the weight of Ding of Shenzhou. The shining giant palm spread its 5 fingers, and with a wave, it directly hit Dao Master Qing Yi into the ancient formation. The ancient formation, which had already reached its critical limit, suddenly exploded. All the light balls spread out and connected into one, turning the world within a radius of thousands of miles into nothingness. Dao Master Qing Yi, Xianlin Taoist, and Yun Yuanjin, who were in the ancient formation, disappeared. Shoichi Daishin looked at Lin Feng in shock. You actually, Lin Feng said indifferently, if you want war, then I'll give you war. Chapter 1122. The light from the ancient formation had yet to completely dissipate, but the bright mirror light in the distance had already arrived in front of him. Tai Yi High Lord of the Tao, whose eyes were tightly shut, appeared. A round mirror floated in the air above his head. There was no frame, only a round mirror light that looked like the sun and moon hanging high in the sky. Even with Lin Feng's current divine sense, it was difficult to distinguish the size of this round mirror, and it was difficult to see through its depth. It seemed to only have a radius of 1 foot and was very small. However, it also felt as vast as the sky, enveloping the entire world of creation. The mirror light hung in the sky. It looked ordinary, but it gave people a feeling as if it was the center of the universe. It was as if everything in the world was surrounding it and gathering around it. Lin Feng could vaguely see faintly discernible ribbons of light extending out from the void and connecting to the edge of the mirror light. The mirror light flickered gently, and those ribbons of light trembled slightly. Lin Feng could vaguely feel that the endless mysteries of the great Tao of heaven and earth seemed to be resonating at this moment. Within the mirror light, it was as if everything in the world could be seen. Everything could be seen, and everything could be seen. The profound and shocking force seemed as if the entire world had formed a pressure, and it was sufficient to make experts at the last day's realm willingly bow their heads in submission. Lin Feng could clearly feel that his Ding of Shenzhou was constantly shaking. Zhu Yi could also feel that the Permitha bridge was also faintly resonating when facing the Haotian mirror. Lin Feng looked at the mirror silently and nodded. Haotian mirror, today I've seen this treasure's line up with my own eyes. Seeing is indeed better than hearing about it. When I was on my way here, I felt the world tremble. It was caused by the Haotian mirror leaving White Cloud Mountain, right? Tai Yi High Lord of the Tao, you seem to have a premonition, so you left White Cloud Mountain in advance. You were only one step behind me. It was a pity that this step was so close, yet so far away. Tai Yi High Lord of the Tao looked at the ancient formation in front of him. The majestic light that seemed to be able to destroy everything erupted in an instant, but it also disappeared in an instant. Even he and the Haotian mirror couldn't stop it in time. The light dissipated in an instant. It seemed to have started anticlimactic, but the scene left behind was shocking. In the blink of an eye, the land within thousands of miles of Tianhuang mainland was completely annihilated. The ground caved in deeply and turned into an abyss. It was pitch black as far as the eye could see. Not to mention any life, even the sand and rocks had completely disappeared. Even the magma deep underground could not be seen. Only a pitch-black abyss was left on the land with a radius of 10,000 kilometers. With the divine senses of Lin Feng, Tao Master Greater One, and Tao Master Righteous One, they could naturally explore to the bottom. They could feel that the bottom and the edges of the abyss were all shattered and distorted spatial cracks. They could sense that the void domain was even slowly collapsing and being annihilated. But in this huge abyss, there was not even a speck of dust. It was empty. Above the abyss, the entire sky seemed to shatter. The blue sky and white clouds disappeared, and one could directly see the pitch-black void. At the edge of the void, one could also see the traces of constantly twisting spatial cracks. Everything happened in an instant. The entire world had turned into nothingness, making this scene even more soul-stirring. Zhu Yi and Wang Lin both frowned. If they were in the formation, with Tao Master Qing Yi at the side, they would not be able to escape even if the Permitha Golden Bridge was with them. They could only let the ancient formation teleport them away. Lin Feng looked at the shattered void. He could vaguely see a path extending from the location of the ancient formation to the endless void. That was not a real path. Instead, the void on that line had shattered and collapsed, leaving an empty space that could not be restored for a long time. Looking along this path, with Lin Feng's mastery of the changes in space and the strength of his divine sense, he could vaguely see a boundless golden sea flashing with black light. Tao Master Tai closed his eyes and also made a look gesture in that direction. There was no expression on his face, and he was silent. The light from the Haotian mirror above his head became more and more dazzling. Shoichi Dashin's face was livid. Apart from the battle with the primitive devil cult in the Middle Age, Taishu Temple had never suffered such a great loss when facing the forces of the human clan. Go now. Maybe there's still a chance, Lin Feng said calmly. I'm not in a hurry. He put his hands behind his back. Apart from Yujing Mountain, the Yin and Yang life and death formation, the doppelganger of Brontosaurus, and Ding of Shenzhou, the thing that really made Taishu Temple and the Haotian mirror afraid was in the void above his head. There, in the dark void, a huge black and white chi pillar stood, faintly discernible, floating and sinking. Although it seemed to exist and not exist, as if it was in another world, Tao Master Tai and Shoichi Dashin frowned at the same time. Silently, the Haotian mirror above Tao Master Tai's head emitted a mysterious light. The mirror light condensed a little and shone on the black and white chi pillar in the dark void. Lin Feng tilted his head slightly and said indifferently, we might still be able to think of a way if we lose one person, but if we lose 3 people at once, can your sect's supreme void yin-yang formation still gather 12 cultivators at least at the Tao integration realm to set up the formation? Tao Master Tai and Shoichi Dashin were silent for a moment. Regardless of emotional factors, if things ended here, compared to the loss of Zhu Yi and the others in the mysterious sea and the loss of Xianmen Tianzong, the loss of Tao Master Qing Yi and the other 2 in the mysterious sea would have a greater impact on Taishu Temple. Apart from losing close to a quarter of their most powerful cultivators, a very obvious problem was that the Taishu Temple couldn't gather 12 cultivators who were at least at the Tao integration stage to set up the Great Yin-Yang Void formation. Of course, they could use cultivators with lower cultivation levels to make up for it, but that would seriously weaken the power of the formation. In all fairness, even if 12 cultivators at the primordial soul embodiment realm activated the formation, the supreme void yin-yang formation would still be one of the top formations in the divine land. However, when White Cloud Mountain faced a truly powerful threat, there was an objective difference between having Dao Master Qing Yi and the other two and not having them. It might even break the original balance of the situation. Moreover, losing a quarter of the high-level experts in one go was already beyond what Taishu Temple could accept. It could be said that it had suffered a great loss. Just like how they would not be lenient when facing Zhu Yi and the others, the Dragon Clan would not be lenient when there was a chance to severely injure Taishu Temple, a great enemy that had a long history and deep hatred. Lin Feng calmly reported the names one by one: the ancient heavenly sect, the primitive devil cult, the great Lane Temple, the reincarnation sect, the netherworld devil sect, the white bone path, the myriad beasts sect. By the way, there's also the ancient immortals world. What do you think of the ancient immortals world in recent years? Is it a beneficial force or an unstable one? Slowly, Shoichi Dashin closed his eyes. Miao Shihao is indeed the moon in the mirror. The current situation put Taishu Temple in a dilemma. If they and the Haotian mirror did not enter the mysterious sea, Dao Master Qing Yi and the others would definitely die. However, if Lin Feng went to White Cloud Mountain after they entered, then Taishu Temple would be completely at a loss. Do you think that this matter is over? Lin Feng said indifferently. Shoichi Dashin asked, "What do you want?" Lin Feng pointed at Tianhuang land, which had turned into an abyss because of the ancient formation of heaven and earth. He said indifferently, "Don't you want our sect to fight the Dragon Clan to the death and cause a war between the two worlds?" Dao Master Tai and Shoichi Dashin fell silent. Lin Feng's meaning was very clear. He did not want him to continue making things difficult for Taishu Temple. Fine, then the original plan would continue. However, the ones fighting the Dragon Clan would change from Xianmen Tianzong to Taishu Temple. Be it Xianmen Tianzong or Taishu Temple, as the two peaks of the divine land, they would fight the Dragon Clan, the strongest race in Tianhuang land. A battle between such colossal beings would indicate the outbreak of a new war between the two worlds. It would attract the attention of all the experts in the Divine Land and Tianhuang Land, and the entire Tianyuan world would be involved. Although Tianhuang Land had yet to have a new sacred emperor and had yet to be unified, and the human race was not as united as a piece of iron, everyone would naturally throw themselves into it when the general trend came. It would be difficult for them to stay out of it. It was dangerous, but it was also an opportunity. If they did not grasp it, they would fall behind. Dao Master Tai and the others could choose to temporarily swallow the bitter pill in front of them and directly return to White Cloud Mountain. Although their strength would be severely affected, it would not be easy for Lin Feng or the others to trample White Cloud Mountain, which was guarded by the Haotian Mirror, Dao Master Tai, and the others. Although it was heartless, it was still a choice to make. An all-out war with the Dragon Clan would undoubtedly cause greater losses to Taishu Temple. Moreover, in the following war between the two worlds, Taishu Temple would no longer be able to control the situation and would be involved in the vortex. The outcome would be unpredictable. After understanding the thinking of the extreme conservatives of Taishu Temple, Lin Feng knew that it was not impossible. Lin Feng stood between heaven and earth, and the black and white pillar of qi in the void above him was like a sharp sword hanging above the heads of Dao Master Tai and Shoichi Dashin. Dao Master Qing Yi and the other two asked for it, but this is not their personal behavior, but the overall decision of your sect, right? Lin Feng said indifferently, "In the war between the two worlds, I can consider the overall situation. If your sect can also sincerely consider the overall situation, this matter will end here, and I will not mention it again after the war. Otherwise, there is no need to return to White Cloud Mountain. Let's do it here first. I don't mind the Demon Clan coming to liven things up." The yin and yang life and death formations suddenly unfolded, enveloping Yujing Mountain. Ding of Shenzhou also hummed within it, and endless light continued to expand, enveloping the surroundings. The black and white pillar of qi gradually began to distort, as if it would disintegrate at any time. A monstrous murderous intent was faintly discernible. Dao Master Tai and Shoichi Dashin's eyebrows twitched. Right now, only the two of them were not fighting in White Cloud Mountain. The Haotian mirror was not complete. Once Lin Feng unsealed the Sky Punishment Sword, the Bell of Fate, and the primordial Sky Punishment Sword formation, the situation would be disadvantageous to them. If this battle began, the result would not be better than the battle with the Dragon Clan in the Mysterious Sea. Without enough power to help lock on, Dao Master Tai could not even use the collapse of the Great Path to perish together with the enemy. This was another consequence of Dao Master Qing Yi and the other two being trapped in the Mysterious Sea. Shoichi Dashin's face darkened slightly. How long had it been since their Taishu temple encountered such a predicament today? Chapter 1123. Ever since the death of Jihuang Xinyuan, the Taishu temple had never been as sullen as it was today. Even if the opponent in front of them was powerful, the Taishu temple could at least ensure that they had the initiative and try to plan a response. It had never been like this, where they were in a dilemma. This was a completely unfamiliar feeling for Taoist Lord Tai and Shoichi Dashin. It also made their stable state of mind feel restless. Lin Feng looked coldly at Taoist Lord Tai and Shoichi Dashin. There are many things where victory and defeat depend on one's own ability. There's nothing to criticize. However, there are some things that have boundaries. There is no room for compromise, and there is no room for negotiation. Don't blame me for being impolite if you cross the boundary. Lin Feng waved his hand, and Shi Tianhao, Zhu Yi, Wang Lin, Li Yuanfang, and the others landed beside him. He looked at Wang Lin and Shi Tianhao. Wang Lin had a ball of air in his hand, trapping the dispirited King Chu Jiang, while Shi Tianhao held another ball of air in his hands. There was a man and a woman inside. Where are my disciples' family members? Why did they fall into the hands of the Underworld Hall's sub-hall master? Lin Feng pointed at the two balls of air and turned to stare at Taoist Lord Tai and Shoichi Dashin. Don't tell me it's a coincidence. You needed a lot of time to set up this formation in infinite wilderness without alarming the demon race. You would have caught my disciple's family earlier than this guy. Taoist Lord Tai fell silent and took a deep look at Lin Feng. Master of the Celestial Sect of Wonders, I have nothing to say now that things have come to this. I will naturally bear the consequences of my decision. I just hope that you can consider the bigger picture. Lin Feng said indifferently, I'm not Yan Xinghe, but I'm not Wen Qiang either. Some people can sincerely consider the bigger picture, and so can I. Some people want war, so I will give them war. Lord Taichi nodded and sighed softly. The Haotian mirror above his head grew brighter and brighter, gradually enveloping him and Shoichi Dashin. Gradually, they disappeared into the void. Under the guidance of the mirror light, they flew toward the path formed by the annihilation of the void. They were running out of time to head to the Xianhai Sea, so they couldn't delay any longer. Under such circumstances, the Taishu Temple had no choice but to fight the Dragon Clan in order to save people. Finally, Dao Lord Tai and Shoichi Dashin turned back and saw a vast purple aura spreading out, enveloping Tianhuang mainland. They sighed, and their figures disappeared. That day, a piece of news shook the entire Heaven Yuan world. The divine land and planet Tianhuang were shocked. The Taishu Temple suddenly launched a large-scale attack on the Mysterious Sea. Other than Dao Venerate Xianwen who stayed behind to guard White Cloud Mountain, it was said that Dao Venerate Tai, Dao Venerate Jingyi, and Dao Venerate Qingyi had all entered the Mysterious Sea and started a great battle with the Dragon Clan. Apart from the three elders, Taishu Temple's Grand Elders Association members Xianlin Taoist, Yun Yuanjin, Kai Fengzhou, Dao Lord Yu Yuan and Wu Mingqi also entered the Xianhai Sea. Taishu Temple also had a considerable number of Essence Soul Realm experts accompanying them to the Dragon Clan. When the news spread, the entire Heaven Yuan world was in an uproar. The calm on the surface was instantly broken. The surging undercurrents gradually erupted and became more and more intense. From the moment the Haotian mirror suddenly left White Cloud Mountain and caused the great Tao of heaven and earth to tremble, everyone was paying attention to the subsequent changes in the situation. In addition to the master of the celestial sect, Lin Feng, Taishu Temple's Tao Lord Tai also came to Infinite Wilderness with the Haotian Mirror. After that, a corner of Infinite Wilderness was suddenly annihilated, which made everyone tense up. The experts of the demon clan did not go near, but all their attention was focused on the annihilated void, feeling the tense atmosphere in the vast purple qi. The final result was not a battle between Xianmen Tianzong and Taishu Temple, but Tao Lord Tai and Shoichi Dashin suddenly attacked the Xianhai Sea. The two major forces of the human clan did not fight each other. Instead, they turned their spearhead to the dragon clan in the Xianhai Sea, which made some demons feel pity but also cheered. The demons of Infinite Wilderness were restless. They were not interested in helping the dragon clan besiege the Taishu Temple. With the Haotian Mirror around, even if the Haotian Mirror was not in a perfect state, it would not be easy to deal with the people of Taishu Temple. They had to pay a price. The other demons were also happy to see the people of Taishu Temple consume the power of the dragon clan. However, this did not mean that they would sit back and watch the show. The demons naturally looked elsewhere. For example, Taihua Mountain, which was occupied by Taishu Temple and located in a key area of Infinite Wilderness, overlooked the surroundings and had far-reaching influence. Taihua Mountain had a realm passage leading to the Divine Land and was closely connected to White Cloud Mountain. At this moment, many experts of Taishu Temple had entered the Xianhai Sea, so Taihua Mountain was naturally empty. It was fine to wander around the entrance of the Xianhai Sea, but it would be difficult to come out after entering the depths of the Xianhai Sea. What surprised many ordinary people, but those who knew the truth expected, was that the first to react in the entire Great Heaven Yuan world was the Phoenix clan. The Tenryu Gen was recuperating from his tribulation, and Taishu Temple had charged into the Xianhai Sea at this time. Regardless of the Dragon clan's combat strength in the Xianhai Sea, the Phoenix clan and the Divine Wudong clan were still dissatisfied with such an action. If it had been someone else, it would have been fine. However, the Phoenix clan and the Divine Parasol Tree clan had always had a good relationship with the Dragon clan. Although they would often have disagreements over many things, this matter had violated the Phoenix clan's moral understanding and immediately caused them to retaliate. The news that the Phoenix Great Sage had personally gone to the Xianhai Sea spread, further increasing the pressure that Taishu Temple faced. Following the Phoenix Great Sage's move, the forces of the entire Great Heaven Yuan world also took action. On Infinite Wilderness, the sky above the sky gradually opened up. There was a sparkling blue space in the crack, which looked exceptionally beautiful. In this blue world, a barefooted girl in white appeared. It was the enchantress's disciple, Long Yi. A giant black wolf crouched next to Long Yi. One of its eyes was closed, while the other was wide open. It looked like a blood-red sea, and in the blood-red light, white bones were piled up like a mountain. The giant black wolf opened its mouth wide, revealing a mouthful of white fangs. It was extremely ferocious and cruel, and it sent chills down people's spines. It was the Heavenly Wolf Great Sage. On the other side of the Heavenly Wolf Great Sage was a giant beast with the face of a human and the body of a leopard. Its ears were like those of a cow's, and it only had one eye. When it walked forward, it held its own tail in its mouth, and when it sat still, its tail coiled up. It was another of the enchantress's capable subordinates, the Zhu Jian Great Sage. Next to the Zhu Jian Great Sage was a strange snake with one head, 2 bodies, 6 legs, and 4 wings. It was a Fei. Next to the Fei Great Sage was an old tortoise. The tortoise's shell was full of traces of time, and there were circles of mysterious patterns. This old tortoise was the same as the Heavenly Wolf Great Sage and the Fei Great Sage. They were all great demons of the astral soul unification realm. They were old and belonged to the revolving tortoise race. They were red and black in color, and they had the appearance of a bird's head and a serpent's tail. Like the Xian Ming race and the Tibetan tortoise, the revolving tortoise race was also a mixed-blood descendant of the black tortoise. The group of great beasts moved aside, and a blurry silhouette that seemed to be from the primitive universe walked out of the aqua-blue world. Only a pair of eyes shone brightly and dazzlingly. Although there were a crowd of great demons in the surroundings, the blurry figure became the focus of everyone as they slightly lowered their heads towards her. She was naturally the enchantress. The enchantress appeared, and the Fey great sage bowed and said, "Enchantress Empress." He didn't say it clearly, but the crowd of great demons knew that the Fey race had always been thinking about their ancestral land, Taihua Mountain. The enchantress's hoarse and deep voice sounded, "Don't be impatient, Zhichen. Although the Taishu Temple and the Haotian Mirror are both trapped in the mysterious sea, and it shouldn't be a trick, but in the current divine land, besides the Taishu Temple, there is another force that needs to be carefully considered." The Fei Great Sage was silent for a while. Xianmen Tianzong, the enchantress nodded. The current Xianmen Tianzong is a powerful force that is as difficult to deal with as the Taishu Temple that has the Haotian Mirror. It is even more flexible and changeable. It is still uncertain what the master of the mysterious gate is thinking. Although the Taishu Temple and Xianmen Tianzong are not on good terms, it is hard to predict how Xianmen Tianzong will react if we take the opportunity to attack Taihua Mountain. The Fei Great Sage revealed a look of unwillingness. The Heavenly Charm Great Sage glanced at him. "Don't worry, everything will be clear soon. The battle between the Void Temple and the Dragon Clan will not end in a short period of time. Once we see what the celestial sect of Xian will do next, we can make our move." Almost at the same time, in the Divine Abyss Mountains, the ancestral land of the primordial demonic ape clan, the Great Sage was also looking at the Great Sage Zhu Yan. The Great Sage Zhu Yan grinned and said, "You guard the Divine Abyss Mountains. I will take the children to Mount Shu first." The relationship between Xianmen Tianzong and them is even worse than with the Taishu Temple. With this time, we can also see what Xianmen Tianzong is going to do. In the extreme north of the vast land of Infinite Wasteland, the void opened and a giant golden-winged rock appeared. Its black eyes flashed with a cold and demonic golden light as it stared in the direction of the mysterious sea. A peacock with a majestic and proud temperament, entirely dark blue, dragging a gorgeous tail, and body suffused with a rainbow-colored light appeared beside him. "Let's not talk about the Dragon Clan and the Void Temple for now. Our other clans, even those two from the Ape Clan, wouldn't be a match for the Master of the Profound Gate alone, unless the battlefield is in their ancestral land, Spirit Abyss Mountain. The human tribe actually has the initiative now. It all depends on the choice of the Master of the Mysterious Gate, Lin Feng." The Golden Rock Great Sage looked in the direction of the mysterious sea and said slowly, "His first target is likely to be me and Tianmei. To be precise, it is the Gate of the Star Sea in our hands. 3 Gate of the Star Sea can forcibly close one of the other Gate of the Star Sea. 4 Gate of the Star Sea can open the Star Tomb." The Golden Rock Great Sage's eyes were cold and solemn. The Master of the Mysterious Gate, Lin Feng, already has 2 Gate of the Star Sea. Chapter 1124. Slowly, the great Peafowl Saint said, "The Gate of the Star Sea of the Apes was taken by him. The Dragon Tribe is fighting fiercely with the Taishu Temple in the mysterious sea. Even if Xianmen Tianzong joins in, he may not be able to defeat the Dragon Tribe in a short time. Their relationship with the Taishu Temple is not harmonious. Even in the war between the two worlds, they may not be able to cooperate." The Golden Rock Saint said, "The two powers are fighting side by side, and neither can surrender to the other and listen to the other's arrangements. For Xianmen Tianzong and the Taishu Temple, it is best for them to fight on their own. Otherwise, it will be more harmful than beneficial. At most, they can cooperate on local issues. But there is a subtle contradiction between the two sides. It is difficult to form a local cooperation. The Ape Tribe has lost the Gate of the Star Sea, and the Dragon Tribe and the Taishu Temple are at odds. The remaining 2 Gates of the Star Sea are in the hands of me and the Heavenly Enchantress." The Golden Rock Saint stretched his wings, covering the sky. "Xianmen Tianzong rose to power late, and he has no feud with us. Or rather, the Ape Tribe and the Dragon Tribe have suffered losses at his hands. I have also lost the evil Pool Cheongqi and the 9 Light Sky Shattering Formation, but he has not lost anything. So in the war between the two worlds, if the Master of the Celestial Gate is not acting to help his allies, then he will most likely act for the sake of profit. He is not a fool. Now that he has 2 Gates of the Star Sea, the other gates of the Sea of Stars will become his targets." The great Peafowl Saint said, "Unlike the dragon race and the ape race, which have a stable foundation, our whereabouts and the heavenly enchantresses are much more secretive. It will be very difficult for him to find us. He will probably strike after the fact and wait for us to emerge and fight with others before ambushing us. Golden Rock Great Sage's eyes flickered. Knowing that he is lurking on the sidelines, both I and the heavenly enchantress will be cautious. The celestial sect master himself should have expected this. He will most likely take the initiative to take action first, creating an illusion to deceive us. He will make a feint and wait for us to strike, then suddenly attack. After all, he has the initiative now. The great peafowl saint raised his head slightly. The Taishu temple has entered the mysterious sea. He can only choose the ape tribe's spirit Abyss Mountain if he wants us to be careless and attack us. And the target he prepared for us is very likely to be the Taihua Mountain of the Taishu Temple. Before the Taishu Temple entered the mysterious sea, they once confronted the Xian Gate Sky sect in the vast land of Infinite Wasteland, and then suddenly entered the mysterious sea. Although the two sides previously opposed each other and had many contradictions, in the war between the two worlds, they might reach a tacit understanding. Even if we don't reach a tacit understanding, it won't stop the master of the celestial sect from using the Void Temple as bait to lure us in. Emperor Taishu Sect. Saint Sect Taishu King Mountain, Master Dao Taishu Sect, Sect of Taishu Sect of Dao God, Dynasty Sect Taite. Sect of Sect of Sea. The divine land is vast, and there are many things that interest me. Moreover, the war is ever-changing. Unless the master of the celestial gate stays out of it, he will not be able to control the situation as long as he gets involved. As long as the Taishu Temple is still in the mysterious sea, we can go to Taihua Mountain at any time. The great peafowl saint said in a low voice, "This war is unprecedented. It is not the scale or the number of experts, but the degree of chaos." The demon race was not unified by the sacred emperor. Not only did they fight for themselves, but the human race also had the Celestial Gate and the Taishu Dao sect. In the last war, although the Taishu Temple in the Divine Land did not strictly follow orders, they could at least mediate. In this war, most of the experts of the Taishu Temple were in the mysterious sea. However, it was the first time that Xianmen Tianzong, who was in the vast thousand domains, participated in the war. Even if Lin Feng was strong enough and prestigious enough, it would not be easy for him to temporarily unify the forces of the human race. After this war, if Lin Feng and Xianmen Tianzong could play an important role, and at the same time, their strength would not be affected, and they could even continue to grow. If they participated in the next war, the situation would be very different. Slowly, the Golden Rock Saint said, "Don't let your guard down. Xianmen Tianzong has many forces of the human race. After entering the war, they may be able to work together. However, it is destined that they will not be able to cover the entire divine land. The war between the two worlds this time will indeed be more chaotic than before. Chaos means greater risks, but it also means greater opportunities." The Golden Rock Saint flapped his wings and turned into golden light. He shot into the sky and flew into the distance. Behind him, the great peafowl sage also followed. In addition, beams of light emerged from the void where they appeared and followed closely behind the Golden Rock Great Sage and the great peafowl sage. As the demons in the vast land of Infinite Wasteland stirred, the divine land was also in turmoil. In the great Qin dynasty's capital, West Hill City, after Qin Emperor Shi Yulong's case, a group of high-level experts of the Qin dynasty gathered in front of him. According to the news from Xianmen Tianzong, the Taishu Temple has entered the mysterious sea and started a war with the dragon race, Stonefeather said slowly. When the Haotian mirror left White Cloud Mountain, it indeed went to the vast land of Infinite Wasteland. Lord Zhenyang, Shi Zongmao, looked puzzled. With Xianmen Tianzong on the side, the Taishu Temple entered the mysterious sea of their own accord? Even if it is the conservative faction, it is too rushed and did not contact anyone else. There are many strange things about this. Lord Nanming, Shi Zongtang, said in a low voice, "It feels like something unexpected and not planned in advance." Lord Jingfang, Shi Lin, looked at Qin Emperor Stonefeather and said, "The situation is unclear. Although it is not convenient for us to make plans, it has already happened. It is not a good idea to simply sit back and watch. This day will eventually come. I and all of you are mentally prepared, and we have discussed this matter many times. Stonefeather said slowly, it is just brought forward now. Fortunately, our preparations are mostly in place and we will not be caught off guard. Sure, Zhongmao and the others nodded. That's right. Even if we continue to wait, there is no fundamental change in the preparations for the Great Qin dynasty. It is just that there is a great lack of information about the current situation. Stonefeather said, the information from Xianmen Tianzong is actually enough for now. Since the Haotian mirror has entered the mysterious sea, the battle between the Taishu temple and the dragon race will not end in a short time. Stonefeather slowly stood up from the dragon throne. The Great Qin dynasty will act according to the original plan. Sure, Zhongmao and the others bowed in unison. As you wish. At the same time, in the imperial palace of the Great Zhou dynasty's Tianjing city, Emperor Liang Pan had a calm expression. In front of him stood a yellow-robed youth. It was the Great Zhou dynasty's crown prince, Liang Yuan. Contact Dao Venerable Luo Fu and ask him to temporarily help keep an eye on the realm channel connecting the East Sea and Tianhuang continent. The Great Zhou dynasty's cultivators will quickly rush over. Liang Pan said slowly, although that channel is close to the mysterious sea dragon race's territory, before the dragon race and Taishu temple decide a victor, they will most likely not have the time to pay attention to the divine land. However, the other demon race might use that channel to enter the divine land. Liang Yuan said respectfully, as father wishes. He paused and looked at Emperor Liang Pan. Father, the Grand Tutor, the Great Zhou dynasty's Grand Tutor was naturally Marquis Xuanji, Zhu Hongguo. Hearing this, Liang Pan shook his head. Don't ask too much about the Grand Tutor. Just do your own things. Your son was rash, please forgive me, father. Liang Yuan lowered his head and replied. Liang Pan looked at him. I know your intentions, but with the current situation, the Great Zhou dynasty still needs to restrain itself. Liang Yuan nodded. Yes, father. Your son understands. Liang Pan waved his hand. Liang Yuan bid farewell and left. After he left, Liang Yuan sat on the dragon throne and looked up at the hall, not saying a word. Although I hope that the war between the two worlds will come sooner, the effects of the karma discussion have not been completely eliminated. At this time, it really is difficult. Liang Pan's brows gradually furrowed, slowly shaking his head. Apart from the Great Qin dynasty and the Great Zhou dynasty, the other powers in the Divine Land also became active. The Northern Militant Imperial Court, Purple Cloud Path, Heavenly Sword Sect, Thunderbolt Sword Sect and other sects all entered a tense state of battle. In the mountains of Western Shu, a sect that seemed to have been gradually forgotten was located there. It was one of the three sacred lands, the Shu Mountain Sword Sect. In these years, the Shu Mountain Sword Sect had pursued the strategy of concealing its strength and biding its time, causing many people to gradually ignore the existence of this force. After the Battle of Shu Mountain, the position of the number one sacred land of the sword in the world belonged to Xianmen Tianzong, and the title of the number one expert in the way of the sword in the Divine Land also belonged to the master of the celestial sect, Lin Feng. Although, in reality, Xianmen Tianzong was not a sword sect at all, and Lin Feng was not a pure sword cultivator. And all of this deepened the irony of the Shu Mountain Sword Sect. The original 6 Meridian Sword Peaks and the main peak of the Shu Mountain Sword Sect were completely destroyed in the battle back then. Naturally, there was no time to recondense them now. The current Shu Mountain Gate was a lonely peak built by the experts of Shu Mountain. On the lonely peak, there was still a soaring sword chi piercing the sky. However, compared to the past, the entire Mount Shu Sword Sect was in a very strange state. There was a sharp, high-spirited spirit that could cut through thorns and thorns, but there was also a lifeless, lethargic aura that was like that of a walking corpse. The two completely different auras interweaved with each other, complicated and difficult to understand. And the cultivators of the Shu Mountain Sword Sect also showed two completely different mental appearances. Some people were as sharp as before, like unsheathed swords, making people tremble. Some people were lethargic and numb, like a long sword stained with a thick layer of rust. Two old men sat facing each other in a simple hall on top of a lonely peak. They had been silent all this time. Suddenly, the two of them said in unison, "The war between the two worlds has begun." Although they spoke at the same time, their tones were completely different. One was clear and powerful, while the other was like a whisper. At this moment, in the vast land of Tianhuang, Lin Feng stood in the void, calmly looking at the land that had turned into an abyss in front of him. He did not look back and said indifferently to the disciples behind him, "The new war between the two worlds has officially begun." Chapter 11:25. Behind Lin Feng, Zhu Yi, Wang Lin, Shi Tianhao, and Li Yuanfang all nodded their heads. Their expressions were solemn, but they did not appear nervous or flustered. Even to them, the war between the two realms was a war that they had never experienced before. It was a war that would affect a wide range of people. However, the few of them were rather high-spirited and had already mentally prepared themselves for this. In fact, they were even vaguely looking forward to the arrival of this day. Shi Tianhao lowered his head to look at the ball of qi in his hands. He could vaguely see two figures there. They were his parents. Holding the small world of mana that looked like a ball of qi, the usually daring Shi Tianhao's hands were actually gradually trembling. The calmness and composure in his eyes had disappeared. What replaced it was a dazed and hesitant expression, but also an incomparable eagerness and urgency. Those conflicting emotions truly reflected Shi Tianhao's current state of mind. Lin Feng turned his head to look at Shi Tianhao. He smiled slightly and did not speak. However, there were also hints of gratification and encouragement in his gaze. Shi Tianhao took a deep breath and a smile appeared on his face. When Wanqiu suddenly reunited with the scorching sun Taoist master, both father and daughter seemed to be like me now. Although he was smiling, Shi Tianhao's voice still trembled a little. He forced himself to calm down and lightly tapped on the small world that looked like a ball of qi. The small world immediately unfolded. Two figures appeared in front of Lin Feng, Shi Tianhao, and the others. One of the men looked extraordinarily handsome and resolute. Although there was a slight look of exhaustion on his face, it did not hide his elegance at all. The only thing that stood out was that the left half of his sleeve was empty. He was missing his left arm. This man's facial features were at least 80% similar to Shi Tianhao's. It was as if he was a little older and looked like Shi Tianhao in his 30s, or a younger version of Shi Zhongtian. Next to the man was a beautiful woman. She was dressed like a young married woman, and her expression was somewhat dispirited and weak. However, when the girl's gaze landed on Shi Tianhao, her eyes widened abruptly. She stared at Shi Tianhao in a daze, and her gaze became lifeless. After a long while, the woman came back to her senses and looked at Shi Tianhao in disbelief. She wanted to say something, but she could not stop the tears from falling from her eyes. She covered her mouth and looked at Shi Tianhao. Her gaze was burning with eagerness, but there was also guilt and sadness. She wanted to walk towards Shi Tianhao, but she couldn't. The man also looked at Shi Tianhao in shock. His gaze, which had always been firm and resolute, was slightly dazed at this moment. He felt as if he was in a dream. Shi Tianhao looked at the man's severed left arm and the woman's frail figure. His vision became slightly blurry. "Daddy, Mommy." Shi Tianhao called out softly. He looked like a little animal that was admiring his parents. He was a natural sovereign whose name shook the divine land and vast continent. He was the youngest Yuanying cultivator in history, as well as the youngest primordial soul cultivator in history, the desolate heavenly emperor Shi Tianhao, who dominated the world. If anyone else saw him like this, they would probably be dumbfounded. However, right now, Shi Tianhao's halo seemed to have completely dispersed. He was no longer the young expert who had made a name for himself during the Desolate Sea Grand Assembly. He was no longer the domineering expert who had killed the mid-Yuanying ancestor of the Yu family at mid-Golden Elixir. He was no longer the young sovereign who had killed another natural god, Shi Tianyi, in the fateful battle in the Dragon Arena. He was no longer the superstar who had overcome all obstacles and killed and injured many primordial soul cultivators as a late Yuanian cultivator. He was no longer the prodigy of the new generation who had just broken through to primordial soul and could contend against Dao integration cultivators head-on, shocking the world. Right now, he was like a child whose heart was overflowing with emotions, yet he could not express them with words. Hearing Shi Tianhao's call, the woman could not help herself anymore. She walked over and extended her trembling hands, gently caressing Shi Tianhao's face. She wanted to say something, but she was already sobbing uncontrollably. The man also walked over and wrapped his arms around Shi Tianhao's shoulders. With tears in his eyes, he said hoarsely, You've grown up. You've grown up. This is better than anything, better than anything. Tears rolled down Shi Tianhao's cheeks as well. He suddenly opened his arms and embraced his parents. Lin Feng and the others saw this. They felt relieved and happy for this family that had been reunited after so long and had gone through so much. This couple was naturally Shi Tianhao's parents, Shi Xiling and Qin Yi. Even primordial soul cultivators were in great danger when they entered the void battlefield. Needless to say, cultivators below the primordial soul stage could not even enter and exit as they pleased. More than 10 years ago in the vast thousand worlds, Shi Xiling and his wife had already returned to the vast thousand worlds from the void battlefield. However, they were intercepted by the Yu clan and had no choice but to retreat to the void battlefield to take refuge. Qin Yi was seriously injured and almost died. In the years that followed, the couple wandered from place to place. Shi Xiling's arm was once cut off by an emissary of the underworld hall. He only managed to escape with the help of the storm unique to the void battlefield. Since Shi Tianhao was still an infant, his family had been separated. It was only today that they were reunited. Those who knew the inside story were also quite emotional for a time. Zhu Yi did not say anything when he saw this scene. However, his eyes moved slightly as he thought of his mother who had passed away early. A scene that left a deep impression on Wang Lin appeared in his mind. When he returned to his hometown during the Golden Elixir period, his hometown was suddenly invaded and massacred by cultivators. He fought a bloody battle for his parents' clan and was trapped in the void battlefield, narrowly escaping with his life. What left a deep impression on Wang Lin was not his own experience, but his parents and relatives. If anything had happened to them back then, they might have been separated forever. Thinking of his happy and healthy parents and family, Wang Lin felt that everything was worth it. Now that he saw Shi Tianhao reunited with his family, he felt even more emotional. Li Yuanfang's usually calm and composed face revealed a disappointed expression at this moment. He was already an orphan when he entered Patriarch He Luo's tutelage. His parents had passed away early, but there were still traces of them in his memories. Although life had been difficult, there had been no lack of warm and happy times. Now, all that was left was reminiscence. Qin Yi looked at her son, whom she thought about day and night, with tears in her eyes. Mother and son were connected by heart. At first sight, she felt as if they were connected by flesh and blood. Seeing her son again in the void battlefield was her greatest obsession. It supported her to survive and walk through those dark times. During the days when she was seriously injured and on the verge of death, it was Shi Xiling who had constantly repeated Shi Tianhao's name in her ears, supporting her until the end. Although she was already convinced, the sudden happiness still shook the heart of Qin Yi, who had gone through all these years of suffering. She murmured, "It's really my my child." Shi Tianhao took a deep breath and wiped his face with his palm, wiping away his tears. He said loudly, "It's me, mother, your son Shi Tianhao. I'm not dead, and I've grown up." As he spoke, new tears once again fell from his eyes. Shi Tianhao didn't restrain his emotions. Even though he had been separated for many years, even though he had been a child when he was separated from his parents, he could still feel the emotions bursting forth from the depths of his heart the moment he reunited with them. Bitterness, sorrow, worry, all turned into joy and emotion at this moment. The initial bit of estrangement and bewilderment had completely disappeared. The longing and love between them that had never been severed had completely blended together, transcending the barriers of time and space. Father, Mother, I miss you so much. Apart from Master Lin Feng and a few of his fellow disciples, the impression that Shi Tianhao left on people within Xianmen Tianzong would always be that brilliant and talented young heaven's chosen one. He was the fearless and lawless devil incarnate. But when he saw that other people's children had parents, he would also feel disappointed. Even though his cultivation was getting higher and his strength was getting stronger, there was always a soft spot left in his heart. But it was also a place that was missing. No one could touch that spot, and it had never been filled. Only today had it finally been fulfilled. Shi Tianhao looked at Shi Ziling's empty left sleeve. Father, Mother, I've implicated you. Those people wanted to capture you because of me. Shi Ziling shook his head and said with a smile, don't blame yourself. It's only because you've become successful that others will target us. In fact, we've become your burden. He sighed softly. Back then, it was also because of us that you suffered when you were young and suffered. It's us who've let you down. Qini looked at Shi Tianhao, feeling both sorrowful and gratified. When they briefly returned to the vast thousand domains from the void battlefield, they had made inquiries and found out that Shi Tianhao hadn't died. He had even become a disciple of an expert. The desolate sea assembly and the first battle of Mount Kunlun had shocked the world. They felt both ashamed and proud. Although they hadn't been able to save their son, he was no longer the young child on the verge of death. Not only had he escaped from the danger of death, but he had also grown into a young genius whose name shook the world. Shi Ziling patted his son's shoulder hard. His son was now as tall as him, even a little taller than him. It took a long time for the family of three to gradually regain their composure. Wiping away his tears, Shi Tianhao turned to look at Lin Feng. This is my master. All these years, I've been taught and raised by master. It's also thanks to master that our family can be reunited this time. To think that the master of the celestial sect is here. Junior Shi Ziling has been impolite just now. Please don't blame me. Thank you for saving my life, and thank you for teaching Tianhao all these years. The husband and wife immediately kowtowed to Lin Feng. Shi Tianhao did the same. Lin Feng gently lifted them up with his magic power. No need to be so courteous. Tianhao is my disciple. If someone tries to harm his family, our sect will naturally not ignore it. Shi Tianhao looked at his parents. Father, Mother, where were you before? Were you always in the void battlefield? Chapter 1126. Shi Ziling and Qin Yi had already gradually calmed down. Hearing Shi Tianhao's question, Shi Ziling frowned slightly and said in a low voice, "A long time ago, the two of us were trapped in a dangerous place in the battlefield of outer space. Our lives weren't in danger, but it was difficult for us to escape. We were completely cut off from the outside world. We didn't know what the situation was like in the outside world. Not long ago, the restrictions in that dangerous place started to weaken, so we tried to break out of it. However, after we escaped, we quickly encountered King Chujiang. He should be at the void return stage. He captured the two of us and trapped us in that small world." Just now, Shi Ziling and his wife had already heard Shi Tianhao roughly explain how they were rescued. They knew that the person who captured them was King Chujiang, one of the Underworld Hall's branch hall masters. They also had a rough understanding of the grievances between Xianmen Tianzong and the Underworld Hall. However, after the two of us escaped from that dangerous place, we observed our surroundings and felt that it was different from before we were lost. It was as if we were in a different place. However, the space in the battlefield of outer space is complex and constantly changes, so we didn't suspect anything. Slowly, Shi Ziling said, "It's very likely that we were lost in that dangerous place back then. However, it was also rather baffling to us. Now that we think about it carefully, it's really hard to say. If it was a void return stage expert, it wouldn't be impossible for them to play around with two Yuanian cultivators in the palm of their hands without anyone noticing. If it was a Dao integration stage expert, it would be even easier." Qin Yi pursed her lips. Would the Taishu Temple really do that? The number one holy land of the human race, it's really hard to imagine. According to their style of doing things, there's at least a 70% chance that they did it, Shi Tianhao said. Before that, you just happened to fall into the hands of King Chujiang, who was running for his life. It's really hard to explain this as a coincidence. After that, while we were pursuing King Chujiang, we were constantly obstructed from the shadows. They controlled the speed between us and King Chujiang, and made him bring father and mother to the location of the ancient formation. This was undoubtedly their handiwork. Shi Tianhao turned his head to look at the ball of air like manna whirled on Wang Lin's palm. I'll interrogate that guy later and I'll be able to find some clues. I'll know how he was lured by the Taishu Temple and escaped all the way to the ancient formation of heaven and earth. We can talk about those things later. Tianhao, send your father and mother back to the divine land first. They need to recuperate. Lin Feng said, just send them to Yingzhou Fairy Mountain in Yinghai like the others. When the war started, the repercussions were widespread. When the city gate was on fire, it was inevitable that the fish in the moat would be affected. Even in the golden elixir period, the repercussions were enough to kill a large number of mortals. Unless the defending side had a huge advantage in strength, it was unrealistic to defend a stronghold. The repercussions of the battle between the cultivators were not something the secular world could withstand. In a battle of equal strength, if one side was distracted to protect others, it would undoubtedly give the opponent an opportunity. In the war between the two worlds, there would sometimes be a situation where every inch of land would be fought. However, that was for the important and precious places that were rich in rare resources. Therefore, before the war, every force would mobilize and gather the people in the secular world. Over the long years, in the many wars between the two worlds, it had become a routine, and every aspect was constantly improved. Every sect and force had their own fixed sphere of influence. They enjoyed a good reputation in the local secular world, which was also one of the reasons why they could recruit disciples. If a war really broke out locally, it would be easy to change the landscape. The fertile plains would become mountains, swamps, or even basins and abysses, which were no longer suitable for living. But after the war, the cultivator forces would also make appropriate arrangements for the natives. They would either restore the landscape or choose another place to settle, and give financial compensation. The secular economic conditions were not a problem for the cultivators. The war between the two worlds lasted for a long time. It was long enough for the mortals, whose lifespan was less than 100 years, to gradually not realize the cruelty that the war between the two worlds could bring. However, for them, the arrangements of the extremely powerful cultivators were not something they could resist. They could only accept it. Of course, there were also people who had a strong sense of home. They would rather die than leave their homeland. This also involved the burial of their ancestors, and the problem of their ancestral graves being destroyed in the war. These people were, after all, a small number. Most of the cultivator forces let them be and did not force them. Today, Xianmen Tianzong naturally faced the same problem, especially since this was their first time participating in the war between the two worlds. Many things were learned from the experience of others. As one of the forces that first confirmed the outbreak of the war between the two worlds, or rather, one of the forces that started the war between the two worlds, when Lin Feng's main body brought Jade Capital Mountain to the vast Tianhuang continent, the Mystic Gate Sky sect started to mobilize and make preparations in advance. After the people from Taishu Temple went to Xianhai and confirmed that the war between the two worlds would break out, besides notifying the other forces in the Divine Land, Xianmen Tianzong also immediately began to move. There were still a lot of resources in the Xiantian realm, Yunfeng Mirror Lake, and the Kunlun mountain range. It would be a great loss if they were snatched away by others. This time, unlike the previous war where Lin Feng was not around, Xianmen Tianzong would not give up these places easily. However, while the cultivators did not give up, the ordinary people had to be properly settled down to avoid being implicated. Therefore, a large number of young disciples and ordinary people with lower cultivation levels were gathered and sent to Yingzhou Immortal Mountain in Yinghai to temporarily settle down. Since Yujing Mountain followed Lin Feng and could enter a fierce battle at any time, the Immortal Mountain in Yinghai was undoubtedly the safest place among the various territories controlled by Xianmen Tianzong. This was because the people in Cloud Mirror City and the Xiantian realm, which were the most important to Xianmen Tianzong, were all immigrants, so they did not have to worry about leaving their homeland. It was also convenient for them to move. However, some of the indigenous people in the Kunlun mountain range were still homesick and unwilling to leave. Lin Feng had asked Shi Tianhao to send Shi Xiling and her husband to Yingzhou Immortal Mountain for the same reason. In all fairness, the husband and wife were both at the Yuanying stage. Depending on the situation on the battlefield, they had a certain ability to participate in the battle. However, they had been trapped for a long time and were not in good condition in all aspects. Qin Yi was especially weak, so Lin Feng did not plan to let them participate in the battle. Shi Tianhao nodded. Yes, master. He turned to Shi Xiling and Qin Yi. Father, mother, I'll send you back to the divine land to recuperate. I won't be returning to the Shi family or the great Qin dynasty for now. Stay in our sect. Shi Xiling and Qin Yi nodded and bowed to Lin Feng. Thank you for your concern, senior. Lin Feng waved his hand. No need to be so polite. Shi Tianhao looked at his parents and sighed. It's a pity that Grandpa returned to the void battlefield to look for you. Otherwise, our family would have been completely reunited. The old master returned. Shi Xiling and Qin Yi were both stunned. They had no idea that Shi Zhongtian had successfully left the void battlefield and returned to the divine land. When they found out that Shi Zhongtian had once again entered the void battlefield to look for them, and that the Shi family's old patriarch, Shi Wu, had also entered the void battlefield to look for them, and that their son, Shi Tianhao, had also gone in and out several times, Shi Xiling and his wife's expressions darkened. Lin Feng felt pity for the family, but also didn't know whether to laugh or cry. One came out, two went in. It wasn't easy for these two to come out, but the first one went in again. However, Lin Feng could understand. The longing and worry between close relatives was indeed torturous. It was difficult to face and wait calmly. Shi Tianhao looked at his guilty and worried parents and hugged them. Father, mother, don't worry. I believe Grandpa will return soon. After this war, I will enter the void battlefield again to look for him. Our family will finally be reunited and enjoy life together. Shi Xiling and Qin Yi both nodded and hugged their son together. Shi Tianhao let go of his parents and looked at them with a sincere smile. He looked up at the sky and let out a long howl. His parents had been a huge knot in his heart. Now that he had finally welcomed them back, Shi Tianhao only felt relaxed. He was fearless of everything that was about to happen, not afraid of any difficult challenges. A smile appeared at the corner of Lin Feng's mouth when he saw this, and he felt relieved. Zhu Yi also nodded with a smile and let out a clear howl, matching Shi Tianhao's. Wang Lin's usually cold and indifferent face also revealed a sincere smile. Li Yuanfang was the same. His old-fashioned and serious expression also relaxed, and he was happy for his fellow brothers. After watching Shi Tianhao leave with Shi Xiling and Qin Yi, Lin Feng turned to look at Zhu Yi, Wang Lin, Li Yuanfang, and the others. Tianhao will send my parents to Yinghai. You guys have to get busy. Master, the Taishu Temple and the dragon race are fighting fiercely in the mysterious sea. Taihua Mountain is naturally empty and may be targeted by other great demons. However, they won't act rashly because of the existence of our sect. What should we do under such circumstances? Zhu Yi asked. If our sect remains in suspense, we can deter the demon clan from acting rashly. That would naturally be the best. However, the boundless world is so vast, and there is more than one way to enter the vast land of the divine prefecture. If they spread out, we may also lose sight of them. Li Yuanfang said, negotiate with the other sections. They will defend and delay if they are attacked. Our sect will act as a mobile force to attack the demon race that invades the divine land. Wang Lin shook his head. On one hand, we will be too passive. On the other hand, other human forces may have other intentions. It is unrealistic to expect them to defend and wait for reinforcements. Apart from the vast land of the Divine Land, all the medium-sized worlds may also become the target of the demon clan's invasion. Many of the vast thousand worlds are currently lacking in resources, and the same situation applies to the infinite region. Many people are also eyeing the medium-sized worlds and foreign spaces controlled by the demon race. Chapter 11:27. Zhu Yi said, "The war between the two worlds this time is completely different from all the previous wars in history. Be it Infinite Wilderness Mainland or the Divine Land, there's a lack of a unified command. We can still contact the forces that are on good terms with our sect and discuss with them. However, I'm afraid that won't be possible for the other forces. Even the forces that are on good terms with our sect will have their own thoughts and might not be able to act in unison. During the course of the war, they might also go their own way as the situation changes." Zhu Yi shook his head. It's not uncommon for the sects that have grudges in the past to hold each other back or even plot against each other. Of course, it's the same for the demons. In fact, they might be even more unscrupulous. However, they should maintain the same general direction, but it's hard to say in private. Wang Lin said calmly, "Unless it's a serious matter or the two parties are on good terms with each other, the demons will most likely not help each other. When a certain demon faction is attacked by us, the other demons that are not on good terms with it will most likely not help. Instead, they will take the opportunity to attack the weak points of the Divine Land for their own benefit." Li Yuanfang said, "We can make use of this and try to take them down one by one. However, we have to be wary of the demons suddenly working together." Zhu Yi looked at the void in the distance of Infinite Wilderness Mainland. The dragon race occupies the Black Sea and is currently fighting with the Taishu Temple. It's hard to predict who will win. However, if our sect intervenes and the dragon race switches to full defense, the battle will not end in a short period of time. Occupying the Black Sea, one of the 7 seas of Heaven Yuan world, the dragon race can be said to be the one with the best geographical conditions among all the forces in the great Heaven Yuan world. In the Black Sea, they have a huge geographical advantage. According to the information we obtained previously, although Tianhuang mainland has yet to be unified and battles have been going on, most of the demon races are currently gathered under the 4 camps. Apart from the dragon race, there are the primordial demon ape race, the golden-winged rock race, and the heavenly charm great sage's side. Zhu Yi said, "The golden rock sage and the enchantress's forces are hard to find. Although they don't have a strong ancestral land as a defensive advantage, it's hard to target them if they don't expose themselves. If we want to break the stalemate, I'm afraid we have to rely on the primordial demon ape race's spirit Abyss Mountain." As he spoke, his eyes flickered. "Our sect hasn't taken any action. Out of fear, the demons don't dare to target the vital places in the Divine Land or places like Taihua Mountain. Otherwise, if we waste too much time, our sect will block their retreat. But in this way, although they won't dare to be too presumptuous, they will turn their attention to the many medium-class worlds that our human race has occupied, or places with weak defenses like the alien dimension. These places can defend against the demons of the Demon King realm or the demons of the immortal Demon Soul realm, but if they encounter a sneak attack from a high-level demon, they will soon be breached and plundered. At that time, it will be a situation where fires will spread everywhere, and the impact will be extremely bad." Wang Lin said slowly, "We and the other human forces can also launch attacks on the medium-class worlds and the alien dimension that the demons have occupied, but the result will be mutual destruction and plunder. The situation is actually in a continuous state of decay. No one can achieve a crucial victory, and no one can expand the results of the war. More importantly, I've given up the initiative that I originally held in my hands." Zhu Yi nodded. "The first move has become a tie." Lin Feng smiled and waved his hand to stop their discussion. "The key to breaking the deadlock is indeed the Divine Abyss Mountain, and the other demons are actually waiting for our sect to attack the Divine Abyss Mountain, so that they can clarify their next plan and choose their own target. Moreover, although Taihua Mountain is a good choice, for the Golden Rock Sage and the Enchantress, they may not have their eyes on that place, because they are worried that our sect is deliberately luring them into the trap. Even if they want to make a move, they won't do it on Taihua Mountain. They will choose a place farther away from our sect, or even farther away from the Divine Abyss Mountain. Zhu Yi, Wang Lin, and Li Yuanfang looked at each other and said in unison, they will choose a target in the Divine Land and attack the Divine Land. Li Yuanfang frowned. But the Divine Land is the land of the human clan, after all. Even if our sect cannot leave the Divine Abyss Mountain in a short time, they may not be able to get away with it. Zhu Yi pondered. That's not necessarily true, it depends on where they choose. Lin Feng looked at Zhu Yi. Little Yi, you have the Permitha Bridge with you, so you can go to the vicinity of the Mysterious Sea first, and wait for the Phoenix Sage at the entrance of the Mysterious Sea, where the Purple Mist Sea leads to the Wudong Forest. I have just received news that the Phoenix Sage will personally go to the Mysterious Sea to assist the Dragon Clan. There has been no news that the Tenryu Gen has completely passed the tribulation and is in a weakened state. In the eyes of the Phoenix Clan and the Divine Wudong Tree Clan, the Taishu Temple's action of entering the Mysterious Sea now is an act of taking advantage of the Phoenix Clan. Although there are conflicts between the Phoenix Clan and the Dragon Clan from time to time, they are friends after all. Under such circumstances, it is not surprising that the Phoenix Clan and the Divine Wudong Tree Clan would choose to assist the Dragon Clan. Lin Feng said, if one clan is involved, the entire clan may be involved, not to mention that this clan is the Phoenix Clan's clan master, the Phoenix Sage. Although the Taishu Temple and our sect are not on good terms, if the Phoenix Clan and the Divine Wudong Tree Clan all participate in the war between the two realms, it will be disadvantageous to the overall situation of the Divine Land. Under the situation where the Taishu Temple is under too much pressure in the Mysterious Sea, if the situation becomes unbalanced, it will also worsen the situation on our side. Although the Haotian Mirror had entered the Mysterious Sea, it had not fully recovered after all. If it was under too much pressure in the Mysterious Sea and fell into a defensive position, they might not necessarily be in danger of death, but the Dragon Clan might temporarily trap the people of the Taishu Temple, and then split a part of their people out of the Mysterious Sea to join the other battles. The Phoenix Clan and the Divine Wudong Tree Clan would not become enemies with the Xianmen Tianzong, even the possibility of them becoming enemies with other human forces in the Divine Land was very small, but if the Dragon Clan was freed because of this, the situation would be completely different. Zhu Yi nodded calmly, yes, Master, I will leave immediately. Lin Feng said, try to fight for it, don't force it, the Phoenix Clan is not a clan that can be forced. The Phoenix Sage was a great demon in the Dharma-ending realm, even if Zhu Yi had the Golden Permitha Bridge with him, he would not be able to stop it and force it to retreat. It would be best if you can stop it halfway, but if by the time you arrive, the Phoenix Sage or the great demon of the Phoenix Clan has already entered the Mysterious Sea, then there would be no need for you to fight for it in the Wudong Forest. Lin Feng stretched out his hand and pointed between Zhu Yi's eyebrows, a light spot integrated into it. You have the Golden Permitha Bridge with you, there are only a few people in the world who can make things difficult for you, but in order to prevent people from calculating this action of our sect and specially launching an ambush to kill you, I will give you one more insurance. You have always been alert, calm and meticulous, I have always been at ease with you, this time when you go, just do your best, if there are any special circumstances, just make the decision yourself. Zhu Yi bowed, don't worry, Master, I understand. With that said, the Permitha Bridge lifted him up, turned into a golden light, and disappeared into the distant horizon. Lin Feng turned to look at Wang Lin and Li Yuanfang, go back, when you are chasing after the cultivators of the Underworld Hall, arrange for the protection of the juniors with lower cultivation levels with you, and then keep an eye on the Divine Land, the Heavenly Charm and the Golden Rock are likely to launch a surprise attack on the Divine Land. Wang Lin and Li Yuanfang bowed together and answered, we will follow Master's instructions. Looking at the back of the two leaving, Lin Feng looked into the distance, it's time for me to take action too, Heavenly Charm, Golden Rock, where will you target? Will you do the opposite and give me a surprise, the two clans joining forces to attack Taihua Mountain, trying to break through it in a short time? Or maybe they are secretly in contact with the Ape Clan, and the three clans are working together to make me stay in Infinite Wilderness forever? Lin Feng smiled, and his main body and Brontosaurus clone exchanged a look. The Brontosaurus clone, who had transformed back into human form, also smiled, and left Yujing Mountain, turning into a silver light and disappearing into the void. Lin Feng's main body, Yujing Mountain, and the Yin-Yang Life and Death Array were also drowned by the purple qi. The Spirit Abyss Mountain was a sacred place where the demons of infinite wilderness lived. The demons that occupied this place were the primordial demon ape race, which had once ruled over infinite wilderness and was now one of the strongest races in infinite wilderness. The war between the two worlds had begun, and the primordial demon ape race was naturally eager to make a move. On the main peak of the Spirit Abyss Mountain stood a giant black ape with scarlet eyes. His eyes were cold and emotionless, and one could vaguely see a violent killing intent. This heavenly demon ape was naturally the current clan leader of the primordial demon ape race, the Great Sage. He was currently staring at the sky above his head with an ugly expression. The originally blue sky was now gradually turning purple, and the vast purple qi spread in all directions like waves, covering the sky and the sun, enveloping the entire Spirit Abyss Mountain. The experts of the various ape clans all noticed the strange changes in the sky. After a brief moment of shock, they reacted one after another, and for a moment, their expressions became somewhat complicated. The person represented by the purple sea of clouds was no stranger to the current primordial demon ape race. The master of the divine land, Xianmen Tianzong, Lin Feng. In the past, Lin Feng's disciple, Shi Tianhao, entered infinite wilderness and was surrounded by a few six-horned divine monkeys. In the end, he was killed by Shi Tianhao, including the grandson of the six-horned great sage, and the two sides became enemies. After that, in the desolate ancient star ocean, the clan leader of the six-horned divine monkey race, six-horned great sage, joined forces with other great demons to besiege Lin Feng and his disciple, but was killed by Lin Feng in front of the great sage. In the final battle after the opening of the Star Tomb, the Great Sage even had a Star Ocean gate that belonged to the ape clan taken by Lin Feng. Looking at the purple sea of clouds in the sky, the Great Sage's expression was so gloomy that it seemed like it was about to drip water. The purple sea of clouds dispersed to both sides, revealing Lin Feng's figure. He looked calmly at the Spirit Abyss Mountain below. Profound Handle, Sun-Chasing Zhu Yan, how have you been, fellow Taoists of the Ape Clan? Chapter 1128. Next to the Great Sage, a giant ape that was smaller than him but equally huge, like a small mountain, appeared. This ape had a white head, red feet, and a white body. Its 4 feet on the ground seemed to be burning with flames, and its red eyes flashed with green light. It was the current leader of the Zhuyan demonic ape clan, Great Sage Zhuyan. Together with the Great Sage, he stared at the rolling, boundless sea of purple clouds above his head. Silently, the Great Sage said, "It seems that you don't have to go to Mount Shu." Lin Feng couldn't find Golden Rock and Tianmei, so he came for our Divine Abyss Mountain. Great Sage Zhu Yan grinned. "My children were a little slow, otherwise we would have set off first." The Great Sage turned to look at him expressionlessly. Great Sage Zhu Yan smiled carelessly. "As long as one of us is here, even the Master of the Celestial Gate will find it difficult to break our Divine Abyss Mountain. He might be able to try to unseal his sword, but it won't be a short time before the outcome is decided. The final result will be like the fierce battle between the Taishu Temple and the Dragon Clan in the Mysterious Sea. The Master of the Celestial Gate is arrogant and may not be able to accept this result. Moreover, he is most likely eyeing the Gate of the Sea of Stars in the hands of Golden Rock and Tianmei, which we don't have." Upon hearing this, the omnipotent sage snorted coldly. The great saint of Zhuyan laughed and said, "He probably came here to trick the Golden Rock and the Heavenly Enchantress into attacking us. The Master of the Celestial Gate has made the first move. Let's see how the Golden Rock and the Heavenly Enchantress fight back. As for us, we just wait and see. As for Mount Shu, it doesn't make much difference whether we go earlier or later. I have enough patience and can afford to wait." The great sage said coldly, "If we can really break our Divine Abyss Mountain, do you think the Master of the Celestial Gate won't want to? We have to wait and see. First, we have to defend against the attack of the Master of the Celestial Gate." Great Saint Zhu Yan glanced at him and said, "Xian Gang, don't tell me you're scared of the battle in the Star Sea. On the contrary, I want to kill the master of the Celestial Gate more than ever and take back the Gate of the Star Sea. Even his original Gate of the Star Sea, as well as his many treasures. The great sage was expressionless as he stared coldly at the sky above. That is why I have to be serious. That is why I have made the mistake in the sea. I won't make the same mistake twice. Just now, this clan head has already contacted Tian Mei and Jin Peng, and invited them to come to the Spirit Abyss Mountain together to kill the leader of the Celestial Sect of Wonders. If this person is left alone, it will be a great disaster for all of our demon clan. If Tian Mei and Jin Peng are smart, they should know how to choose. Blindly avoiding and delaying will only make this person's momentum stronger and stronger. As he spoke, his entire body was shrouded in black mist. Faint starlight flickered in the black mist, combining with the black mist and turning into rays of black light. The huge mountain turned completely black in the blink of an eye. Then, with the black mountain as the center, black light bands, like the veins of a living creature, spread rapidly in all directions and covered the entire Divine Abyss Mountain. The huge mountain turned completely black in the blink of an eye. Then, with the black mountain as the center, black ribbons of light rapidly extended in all directions like the veins of a living being, covering the entire Spirit Abyss Mountain range. The huge mountain turned completely black in the blink of an eye. Then, with the black mountain as the center, black light bands, like the veins of a living creature, spread rapidly in all directions, covering the entire Divine Abyss Mountain. Boundless demonic chi shot up into the sky, filling the entire heavens and earth. It continued to surge upwards, causing the purple sea of clouds that covered the heavens and earth to churn, as if it was about to be dispersed. Their voices were shrill and deafening. Endless demon aura rose into the sky and filled the entire world. The demon clans that lived in the mountains could hear it. The violent demonic aura and howling sound spread far and wide. Even in places far away from the Spirit Abyss Mountain, the demonic beasts living in the mountains could hear it. They only felt restless and were about to go crazy. Some of the demons with lower cultivation bases were directly killed by the roar of the demonic chi. The great sage looked at Lin Feng coldly. His body, which was already as huge as a mountain, expanded further. It was as if he was standing on the ground and had the sky above his head. The violent demon aura of the Divine Abyss Mountain continued to strengthen his body, making him look even more ferocious and domineering. The huge body stared at Lin Feng in the void with a pair of blood-red eyes. Master of the Celestial Sect, how have you been? The great sage Zhu Yan stood beside the great sage. His expression did not change at all. He just continued to stare at Lin Feng in the sky. Lin Feng stood in the sky and looked at the changes in the Divine Abyss Mountain with interest. He felt the flow of demon aura. He looked at the great sage and smiled. Of course I'm fine. The great sage, you are still the leader of the ape clan. Congratulations. I was worried about you. Lin Feng glanced at the great sage Zhu Yan as he spoke. After all, you have successfully passed the initial ordeal and entered the Dharma-ending realm. The Supreme Being remained expressionless when he heard this. He had been defeated by Lin Feng in the Star Sea and lost the Star Sea Gate controlled by the ape clan. How could there be no repercussions? It was only because he had been in charge of the ape clan for many years and had a strong foundation that he could stabilize the situation. Otherwise, it was hard to say whether there would be internal strife among the ape clan. At the same time, the external situation, which seemed calm but was actually tense, was also one of the important factors in promoting the stability of the situation. External pressure often helped to transform and alleviate internal conflicts. The great sage Zhu Yan looked up at Lin Feng and grinned. Master of the Celestial Gate of Wonders, you must be joking. It's all thanks to the clan master obtaining golden cicada's flesh and blood that I was able to finish the first tribulation so quickly and recover from the weakness of the tribulation. Speaking of which, it was also thanks to you that I was able to find golden cicada. I also have to thank you. Lin Feng smiled carelessly. You don't have to be so polite, great sage Zhu Yan. If you feel that you owe me, you will soon be able to pay me back. The great sage Zhu Yan grinned and did not continue to say anything. The great sage said silently, Master of the Celestial Sect, you should first return the Star Sea Gate of our clan. As he spoke, he opened his giant hand that covered the sky and grabbed at Lin Feng first. Lin Feng's expression did not change. He casually pinched a spell with his right hand, and the purple sea of clouds broke apart. The towering white jade immortal mountain appeared. On the top of the immortal mountain, the treasure tree that covered the sky swayed its branches, and the entire immortal mountain fell down together. Light flowed around the immortal mountain, and a huge circle of light spread in all directions with the white jade mountain as the center. Countless rays of light intertwined in the sky in a strange pattern. These patterns gathered together to form a giant pattern with black and white poles, covering the entire sky above the Spirit Abyss Mountain. With Yujing Mountain as the center, the black and white pattern kept spinning. At the top of Yujing Mountain, in the center of the magic formation, a square cauldron stood there silently. The body of the cauldron was greenish-black, and its surface was engraved with fine and complicated patterns. It showed the vast world of the divine land, the thousands of scenes, the mountains, the rivers, the seas, the ravines, and the plains. These fine and complicated veined patterns were constantly changing, big or small. Some of the changes were so small that ordinary people and cultivators with lower cultivation bases could not detect them at all. Even primordial divinity cultivators had to pay full attention and observe carefully before they could notice them. These patterns corresponded to the geographical environment that was constantly changing, whether small or huge, on the divine land of the real boundless world. The square cauldron seemed to bear the weight of the entire divine land. It was vigorous, vast, and heavy. The yin and yang life and death formation, with Ding of Shenzhou as the eye of the formation, unfolded its own layers of changes, deduced infinite power, and blessed Yujing Mountain. It merged with Yujing Mountain, and from top to bottom, it pressed down on the palm of the great sage. Even though the great sage had the power to tear the sky apart, and he was supported by the demonic power of Yujing Mountain, he suddenly felt his hands sink. As a heaven-reaching demonic ape that was known for its physical strength, the great sage had not experienced such a feeling of his hands sinking and his body not being strong enough to hold something in his hand for a long time. It was as if the weight of a boundless world was pressing down on him, and even the great sage found it difficult to bear. He bared his teeth, and the red light in his eyes became even more dazzling. The tremors of Yujing Mountain under his feet became more obvious, and streams of powerful demonic aura rushed into his body, increasing his strength once again. The sky above the Yujing Mountain, under the dome, and between heaven and earth, was filled with a monstrous demonic aura. Giant demonic apes appeared from it, and they reached out their claws to grab Yujing Mountain, which was covered by the yin and yang life and death formation. After being grabbed by the monkey claws made of demonic aura, a huge force was generated, and it seemed to be able to drag Yujing Mountain down from the sky. Countless monkey claws exerted force at the same time, and the yin and yang life and death formation trembled incessantly. The brilliance of the formation patterns at the edges gradually shattered. Around Yujing Mountain, with the yin and yang life and death formation as its axis, an invisible ball of light gradually formed above Yujing Mountain. However, as the ancestral land of the apes increased its power, the surface of the invisible ball of light gradually began to distort, and cracks appeared. Seeing this, Lin Feng's expression did not change at all. He was as calm as before. He landed on the top of Yujing Mountain and sat down cross-legged. His hands formed a seal, and purple chi filled his body, merging with Yujing Mountain, the yin and yang life and death formation, and Ding of Shenzhou. At the same time, black and white divine light appeared around him, shining brightly, and the chanting of countless deities and Buddhas sounded. On the surface of Lin Feng's body, there seemed to be countless spots of light emerging, and each spot was like a god. Like the clouds when the sun rose, the black and white divine light and Lin Feng's own dermic powers were also added to Yujing Mountain. The invisible ball of light, which looked like it was on the verge of shattering, stabilized again, and then disappeared. The power of the Spirit Mountain's array was released, and it was like a world continued to press down on the sky above Yujing Mountain. The great sage was expressionless. The power of Yujing Mountain also continued to increase, lifting up Yujing Mountain and trying to destroy it. Waves of demonic aura rampaged between heaven and earth, stirring up the void. The space where the two sides came into contact had long been annihilated, and then regenerated, and then annihilated again, and so on. Large-scale spatial cracks appeared in the surrounding void, and white light flashed. The power of the domain kept surging, and the two sides wrestled, as if they were trying to separate Yujing Mountain from Tianhuang continent. Chapter 1129. The great Saint Zhu Yan stood at the top of the Spirit Abyss Mountain and looked at Yujing Mountain above. The huge mountain looked even more imposing under the purple sea of clouds. He hasn't used his full strength yet. As he spoke, the great Saint Zhu Yan revealed his true form. He was a barefooted white ape that was as tall as a mountain. He stomped hard on the Spirit Abyss Mountain with his 4 feet, causing the entire world to shake. Layers of spatial boundaries folded and squeezed with Yujing Mountain and the yin and yang life and death formation as the center. It was as if this part of the world had become an ink painting that had been forcefully rubbed by someone from the outside world. Everything was twisted and broken. Lin Feng stood at the top of Yujing Mountain with a calm expression. His left hand formed an incantation gesture and pressed it against the mountain rock at the top of the mountain. His right index and middle fingers stood side by side and gently waved in the void. Heaven punishment. As soon as the word left his mouth, a murky, hazy, and ferocious sword light emerged between Lin Feng's fingers. It condensed and did not shoot out. With his fingers as the center, beams of overbearing, terrifying, and mournful black light spread in all directions. At the top of Yujing Mountain, a thick blood-red pillar of qi shot straight into the sky, tearing the sky above and piercing through the void. Around the blood-red pillar of qi, countless black lights flashed and condensed into black light swords that floated around the pillar. With the blood-red pillar of qi as the center and thousands of black light swords as support, hundreds of millions of complicated formation patterns gradually took shape. Black light flashed and turned into a ferocious and ominous giant sword formation. The ferocious intent that could destroy heaven and earth gave people a feeling that it was even more ferocious and tyrannical than the demons dancing in the Spirit Abyss Mountain. Lin Feng used his own supernatural power to manifest the heaven punishment sword formation. The yin and yang life and death formation around Yujing Mountain also activated. Under the support of the terrifying power, the entire world seemed to have turned into a ferocious giant sword that slashed toward the Spirit Abyss Mountain. The spatial boundaries that were pressing down on Yujing Mountain were all destroyed by this sword strike. The Great Sage and the Great Saint Zhu Yan activated the power of the Spirit Abyss Mountain and displayed their demon techniques. The monstrous demon aura seemed to have turned into a giant vortex that was locked in a stalemate with Lin Feng. "We didn't use our full strength either," said the Great Sage coldly. Great Saint Zhu Yan looked around at the void where there seemed to be no one else around. "Someone is already nearby, but if we don't fight with the master of the celestial sect, they won't make a move easily." The Great Sage snorted. "It should be Sky Enchantress. She's waiting for Lin Feng's sword to be unsealed and for us to activate the Spirit Abyss Mountain's terrain with all our might." Although the two worlds were separated and there would inevitably be gaps and delays in the transmission of information and scouting, there were two things in the divine land that the great demons had to be careful about. They could not afford to neglect or forget about them. The Mirror of Taishu Temple, the Sword of Xianmen Tianzong. Even if the Haotian Mirror hadn't fully recovered, and even if the Heaven Destroyer Sword hadn't completed its second sacrifice, the strength of these two treasures had surpassed the Last Day's realm. For all the practitioners of the human clan, the dragon clan's Xian Si and the ape clan's Spirit Abyss Mountain were powerful geographical conditions that could not be ignored during the war between the two worlds. At the moment, the Haotian Mirror of Taishu Temple had entered the Xian Si and was fighting against the dragon clan. If there were no major accidents, it would be difficult to determine the victor between the two sides in a short time. But Lin Feng's Heaven Destroyer Sword still existed. Strictly speaking, since the Heaven Destroyer Sword cut the Fairy Sky Sword and was truly born, no one, whether it was the human clan or the demon clan, had truly seen its sharpness. But today, no one in the world was interested in being the first person to be used by Lin Feng to test his sword. Now that Lin Feng had sacrificed his Heaven Destroyer sword, he would try not to use it if he could, but if it was really necessary, he would not be stingy. While this made the experts of the Great Tianyuan world feel a little relieved, they also felt more uneasy about the future. The Great Sage and Zhu Yan Great Sage were in charge of the Spirit Abyss Mountain, so they were confident and emboldened, but sacrificing themselves to fight Lin Feng was not what they wanted. It didn't matter if the gains could make up for the losses, but they were not sure what the final result would be. Even though Lin Feng had taken the Gate of the Star Sea and the Great Sage hated him to the bone, he still had to be cautious at this moment. If the Enchantress and Golden Rock Great Sage could come to help, the Great Sage and Zhu Yan Great Sage would dare to fight Lin Feng with all their strength. But if it was only the primordial demonic apes, they had to be cautious. If Lin Feng did not seal the Heaven Destroyer sword, they would be happy to save their strength to deal with the unexpected situation. At the top of Yujing Mountain, Lin Feng was looking in one direction with a faint smile on his face. The void over there looked ordinary, but it was constantly fluctuating and twisting under the aftermath of the battle between Lin Feng and the apes. But in the perception of Lin Feng's divine consciousness, there seemed to be a face there, faintly discernible. It was said to be a human face, but in fact, it was only similar in shape. The face was hazy, making it impossible to see the facial features clearly. Only a pair of eyes were as bright as stars. Although it was hidden in the dark void, it had nowhere to hide in Lin Feng's field of vision. The other party did not dodge. Her eyes swept across Lin Feng, and she looked up and down at Yujing Mountain and Spirit Abyss Mountain, who were fighting. But she did not intend to show herself. She stood aside as if nothing had happened, quietly watching the battle between Lin Feng and the apes. This was a doppelganger formed by the projection of the Enchantress's demon power. This doppelganger was connected to her mind. As long as the Enchantress willed it, she could immediately burn this doppelganger and descend upon this place with her true self. This method could be used as long as the true self and the doppelganger were in the same world. At the same time, the speed was extremely fast, like a flash of lightning, arriving in an instant. But so far, the Enchantress had no intention of making a move. Silently observed from the side. Just as the Great Sage and Zhu Yan Great Saint had expected, she was waiting for Lin Feng to use the sky-crushing sword first. She would only consider making a move when the Spirit Abyss mountain range could withstand the pressure of the sky-crushing sword. Or, if the Golden Rock Great Saint also came here, and the three forces temporarily joined forces, the Enchantress would also consider making a move. Where is the Golden Rock now? He probably won't consider Taihua Mountain. Has he directly entered the Divine Land? The Enchantress pondered. Although self-preservation was the priority, and he was not afraid of taking advantage of the other demon clans, the Enchantress shared the Great Sage's concerns. The rising momentum displayed by Lin Feng and Xianmen Tianzong was too terrifying. Those who were shocked by this were not only the Taishu Temple in the Divine Land, but the demons of Infinite Wasteland were also paying close attention. Always thinking about avoiding the fight, always thinking about letting other people exhaust Lin Feng, this may instead fall into a vicious cycle. The final result is watching Lin Feng and the Celestial Sect of Wonders continuously grow, their strength continuously growing. This is close to slow suicide. It was not impossible to count on the two major human forces, Xianmen Tianzong and Taishu Temple, to fight it out first. But now it seemed that although Xianmen Tianzong and Taishu Temple had been fighting secretly, they had still maintained a certain degree of restraint. Even if the two sides were to fight, the outcome was too unpredictable. This made the demons of Infinite Wasteland feel deeply uneasy. It also urged them not to communicate, but to gradually form a tacit understanding and look for opportunities to inflict serious damage on Xianmen Tianzong. The Thunder Abyss Golden Rock must have considered this. So what is he doing now? The Enchantress's eyes shone brightly like stars. Could it be that he has grasped an opportunity to quickly increase his strength and wants to use this opportunity to strengthen himself, then kill his way back to Infinite Wasteland and kill two birds with one stone? However, the master of the Celestial Sect of Wonders is probably also eyeing the Star Ocean Gate in my hands. I wonder if the master of the celestial sect of wonders has a way to return to the divine land immediately. Lin Feng sat on the peak of the jade capital mountain and looked around, thinking silently in his heart. For a time, the situation fell into a stalemate. Lin Feng personally came to the divine abyss mountain and blocked the primordial demon ape race at their doorstep. Lin Feng could not leave, and the primordial demon ape clan could not escape either. Both sides used their own methods and confronted each other, fighting until the vast heaven and earth of the Spirit Abyss mountain range almost became a domain of destruction, making other humans and demons not dare to easily approach. Meanwhile, the Taishu temple in the Xianhai also fell into a fierce battle with the dragon race. The two top forces of the human race had already entered the battlefield. Suddenly, the other demons began to move, and the dragon race and the ape race, the two strongest races, were blocked at their doorsteps, relieving the human cultivators of the divine land of many worries. From top to bottom, the war between the two worlds began to erupt, gradually affecting the entire heaven primordial world. As the experts under the Enchantress, the Taowu Great Sage and the Heavenly Wolf Great Sage attacked the southern wasteland of the Divine Land through the Domain Passage, they were resisted by the Hua clan first, followed by the Great Qin dynasty's counterattack. The scope of the war began to expand. After a short period of probing and reconnaissance, the war between the two worlds continued to escalate. First, the Taowu race occupied the Cold Star steel mine that originally belonged to the Great Qin dynasty. As they plundered wantonly, they were besieged by the Great Qin dynasty's southern Ming king, Shi Zongtang. After Shi Zongtang was repelled by the Heavenly Wolf Great Sage, the latest news was that Qin Emperor Shi Yu had left the capital of West Hill City with the Immortal Dragon City and personally went to the southern wasteland. The demons under the command of the Golden Rock Great Sage also entered the East Sea of the Divine Land through another domain passage. First, they collided with the Luofu Immortal Island, where Tao Master Luofu was located. In the vast land of the Divine Continent, the Northern Militant Royal Court, the Purple Cloud Tao, the Heavenly Sword Sect, and other forces also took action. Some targeted the vast land of Infinite Wasteland, and some targeted the medium-class worlds and foreign spaces occupied by the demon race. Each had their own goals and demands, and battles broke out one after another. At this time, in the Divine Land, there was a land that was almost barren and forgotten by many people. At present, it seemed abnormally quiet. But one evening, the void suddenly opened, and a giant golden-winged rock appeared. Its two dark pupils flashed with a cold and demonic golden light as it looked at the land below. Chapter 1130. On the ground, there was an extremely majestic and vast mountain range. It was towering and stretched for thousands of miles, with no end in sight. Among the mountains, the originally most beautiful place was now completely deserted. Only a dilapidated ruin could be vaguely seen among the mountains. The most eye-catching place was one of the towering peaks. At the foot of the mountain, there were two huge carved feet. Just the thickness of the feet alone was close to 100 feet tall. However, the area where the feet were facing upwards had been completely damaged and no longer looked the same. The two huge feet that were carved from mountain rocks originally belonged to a Buddha statue, a huge Buddha statue that was carved from an entire mountain. However, now, the Buddha statue had been destroyed, leaving only some wreckage. Just like the temple that used to be bustling with people and lit incense, now there were only broken walls and ruins left. It was a barren land. This was the former Holy Land of Buddhism, the former site of the Great Layin Temple. In the past, this area had always been peaceful. Occasionally, people from the secular world would come here to mourn and cherish the past. Very few cultivators would set foot here. Occasionally, some people would pass by and see the former Holy Land of Buddhism in such a state. At most, they would sigh. In the past, when the Great Layin Temple had just been destroyed, there were many people who came here to try their luck. However, in the end, they all returned disappointed. Even if they did gain something, it was not much. Most of it was just bits and pieces. Thus, as time passed, fewer and fewer people set foot here. The former Holy Land of Buddhism also gradually began to be forgotten. At this moment, The war between the two worlds had broken out and the flames of war were getting more and more intense. However, it had nothing to do with the Great Lane Temple. This place was located in the hinterland of the Divine Land. The spiritual energy of the earth veins had already dissipated and most of the mineral resources had been excavated. There were no demons who would take the risk to come here. This mountain range was located within the territory of the Great Zhou dynasty. This time, when the war between the two worlds broke out, until now, the Great Zhou dynasty still maintained a low profile. Other than supporting the Luofu Immortal Island and cleaning up the demons who had invaded the East Sea, they did not take the initiative to attack. In the evening, the sun was setting. However, at this moment, the sky suddenly opened and a golden-winged rock the size of a mountain appeared. It spread its wings and covered the sky. That boundless demonic energy expanded outwards, far surpassing that of a greater demon at the astral soul fusion realm. The golden feathers flickered with a domineering purple light. He didn't even need to exert his strength. Wherever the purple light flashed, the void showed faint signs of annihilation. This golden-winged rock was naturally the current leader of the golden-winged rock tribe, the Golden Rock Great Sage. He was one of the most eye-catching great demons in the Divine Land. The whereabouts of the Golden Rock Great Sage had always been the concern of all the experts of the human clan. Previously, the experts under his command had confronted the experts of the Great Zhou dynasty and the Luofu Immortal Island at the East Sea Realm Passage. The battle between the two sides was in full swing. The Golden Rock Great Sage had appeared for a short while, but his whereabouts were a mystery, which attracted the attention of all the experts of the human clan. Even the experts of the forces outside the Great Zhou dynasty were paying attention to the whereabouts of the Golden Rock Sage. Some of the forces that had taken the initiative to attack even retreated to prevent the Golden Rock Sage from attacking their own hinterlands. Emperor Liang Pan of Zhou was also in Tianjing City, ready to strike at any time, ready to defend against Golden Rock Great Sage. Everyone's worries were not unfounded. The Golden Rock Sage had indeed gone deep into the Divine Land, but he did not go anywhere else. Instead, he went to the ruins of the Great Lane Temple, which had long been in ruins. In terms of flying speed, the golden-winged rock was almost the fastest among all the demons of the same realm. It was difficult for anyone to match him. When his speed was raised to the extreme, it could also produce the effect of hiding his whereabouts, making it difficult for people to detect him. But now that he had stopped and escaped from the void, descending into the vast thousand domains, it was naturally easy for people to discover him. After all, as a great demon of his cultivation level, when the fluctuations of his demonic power spread out, unless he had special means to hide it, most experts of the same level who were close to him would be able to detect him. However, the Golden Rock Sage did not care too much. He looked indifferently in the direction of Tianjing City, and then looked in the direction of Mount Baiyun and Mount Kunlun. Then, he withdrew his gaze and returned it to the ruins of the Great Lane Temple. A demonic golden light flashed in his pitch-black pupils. Finally, the Haotian mirror has left the Divine Land. Although the rise of the Master of the Profound Gate has exceeded my expectations, it will still take time for him to return to the Divine Land. It all depends on how much effort Tong Tian is willing to put into Spirit Abyss Mountain. Although I'm not 100% sure, how can there be perfect things in this world? The opportunity now is good enough. The Golden Rock Sage suddenly opened his sharp hook-shaped beak, and a bright purple glow spewed out from it, flickering between heaven and earth. Just where the purple glow shone, the void kept distorting. The majestic and shocking power kept shaking the heaven and earth where the ruins of the Great Lane Temple were. The wings around the Golden Rock Sage also glowed with purple light, and the terrifying Yuda nether light faintly resonated with the purple glow in the sky. Looking closely, one could see that in the center of the dazzling purple glow was a piece of bone. The color of the bone was chaotic and blurry, like the primordial chaos of the universe. The bone gave off an incomparably terrifying power. Although it was only a piece of bone, it still shook the boundless universe. Now, not to mention the strong practitioners of the human race near the Golden Rock Sage, even the top human practitioners in the Divine Land could feel the existence of the bone and were shocked. When the Golden Rock Sage had just escaped from the void and appeared, a beam of purple and gold light flew out from the capital of the great Zhou dynasty, Tianjing City. It was overbearing and majestic, as if it was the king of the gods and the supreme ruler. It was Emperor Zhou, Liang Pan, and the creation treasure he controlled, the supreme imperial palace. Liang Pan sat cross-legged on the dragon throne in the supreme imperial palace, feeling the shock coming from afar. He frowned. Rumor has it that the Golden Rock obtained an extremely mysterious treasure that even the great demons of the Dharma-ending realm are afraid of. Even though the Golden Rock hasn't finished his first tribulation, no one dares to touch him. Now it seems that this treasure has something to do with the Yudu of the heavenly seas. Nowadays, many people had already forgotten about it, but Liang Pan had not forgotten that the ruins in the mountains, besides being the ruins of the Great Thunder Monastery, were also the site of the decisive battle between the two worlds in the last war between the two worlds. That battle was earth-shattering. The ferocious might of the Yuhuang Heavenly Sea was overwhelming. Although it fell in the end, it almost broke the backbone of the entire human race. In the end, it could only obtain a Pyrrhic victory. The Taishu Temple, which had gradually regained its former glory after many years of accumulation, was also half destroyed by the Battle of the Yuhuang Heavenly Sea. In the war between the two worlds, the current strong practitioners of the Taishu Temple, like Yan Nanlai, Kuang Heng, and Xianlin Taoist, were already strong practitioners of the Tao integration realm. But at that time, it was difficult for them to enter the Supreme Elders' Council. At that time, the Supreme Elders' Council of the Taishu Temple were all strong practitioners who had already begun to experience the first tribulation. They joined forces to set up the most powerful yin-yang void formation since ancient times, and fought against the Yuhuang Heavenly Sea. In the end, more than half of them died. The temple master of the time, Daoist Lord of the Tao, used the Haotian mirror to participate in the battle, and both of them were severely injured. After that battle, the resurgence of the Taishu Temple was cut short. The Great Thunderclap Temple's luck was completely destroyed, and they were almost annihilated. That was why there was the Buddhist extermination war. Otherwise, if the Taishu Temple didn't use its full strength, the entire human race in the Divine Land might not be able to break through the Great Thunderclap Temple even if they joined forces. To the younger cultivators with lower cultivation bases, the Yuhuang Heavenly Sea was just a name that gradually disappeared in history, a simple symbol. But to people like Emperor Liang Pan of Zhou, anything related to the Yuhuang Heavenly Sea was worthy of attention. The Golden Rock Great Sage's sudden visit to the Great Thunderclap Temple immediately attracted Liang Pan's attention. Other than Liang Pan, even Qin Emperor Stonefeather, who was facing off against the Great Sage Zhu Jian and the Heavenly Wolf Great Sage far away in the southern wilderness, frowned when he sensed the abnormality. Among the experts left behind to guard the Taishu Temple, Dao Venerable Xian Yi brought the formation-breaking drum and the void yin yang to guard the Taihua mountain of the vast land of Tianhuang. Temple Master Yan Nanlai, who guarded the White Cloud Mountain of the Divine Land, transformed into a white cloud and headed in the direction of the Great Thunderclap Temple's ruins. Although that was the territory of the Great Zhou Empire, Yan Nanlai couldn't just ignore the matter that concerned the Yuhuang Heavenly Sea. The human experts of the other forces, although they didn't head directly to the Great Thunderclap Temple, also gathered in that direction. The Golden Rock Great Sage was well aware that he had become the center of attention in the Divine Land, but his expression didn't change at all. He calmly looked at the bone floating in the air above the Great Thunderclap Temple, emitting a purple light that illuminated the world. The bone gradually shrank and shrank. The bone was compressed to the limit, leaving only a small black dot, like a speck of dust. However, the purple light around it grew brighter and brighter. In the next moment, the black dot that had shrunk to the limit suddenly expanded in all directions, turning into an incomparably huge black hole that shrouded the sky above the Great Thunderclap Temple's ruins. Everything in the surroundings was being devoured by the black hole. The sky gradually disappeared, leaving only darkness in the sky. The mountains and grass on the ground below were all shattered. Then, a large number of fragments floated up and flew toward the black hole above, being sucked into it. Within the black hole, there was also a faint purple light flowing. It was dark and deep, far less bright and dazzling than the bone and the light on the golden rock great sage's body. However, in the face of the purple light, even with the golden rock great sage's current cultivation and strength, he felt an impulse to kneel down and worship it. In the distant sky, the sky broke open, and a tall figure appeared. He wore a full suit of armor, and his facial features were identical to Lin Feng's. It was his god of war clone. I really didn't think of this before. Lin Feng looked at the huge black hole that seemed to devour the heavens and earth, and frowned slightly. Golden Rock, you really gave everyone a surprise. The Golden Rock great sage sensed something and coldly looked at Lin Feng's god of war clone. Without saying anything, he flapped his wings and flew toward the black hole. At the same time, a domineering and majestic purple-gold light and ethereal white clouds appeared in the sky. Chapter 1131. In the vast land of infinite wasteland, the enchantress, who was watching the battle between Lin Feng and the primordial demonic ape clan, suddenly had a purple glow in her eyes. She sensed something and subconsciously turned to look in the direction of the realm passageway connecting the vast land of infinite wasteland and the divine land. This feeling is related to the Yuhuang Heavenly Sea. Where is it? In the vast thousand worlds of the divine land, the Great Lane Temple, the place where Yuhuang died in the past. In an instant, the enchantress roughly understood what was going on and could no longer remain calm. The enchantress glanced in the direction of the Spirit Abyss Mountain and shook her head. I'm afraid Tong Tian and Zhu Yan won't go all out, but there's nothing we can do about it. Her figure flashed and disappeared in the void, rushing in the direction of the divine land. Now it seems that the thing in the golden rock's hand is not an ordinary relic of Yuhuang. It's probably even more important. I wonder what he found in the Great Lane Temple. Could it really be Yuhuang's remains? The same question appeared in the minds of Lin Feng, Yan Nanlai, Liang Pan, and the others. Lin Feng looked up at the huge black hole above and frowned slightly. He raised his index finger and gently tapped the forehead of his god of war clone. The Two Realms Void technique was immediately activated. On the vast land of infinite wasteland, his original body and the god of war clone on the peak of the Jade Capital Mountain switched places. On the Spirit Abyss Mountain range, the great sage and Zhu Yan felt the pressure on their heads lessen slightly. The two great demons looked at each other. The golden rock has appeared somewhere else and attracted the master of the celestial sect over. The person in charge of the celestial mountain array has changed. It might be his disciple, or it might be his avatar, but it is no longer his original body. The great sage bared his teeth slightly. While his original body went to look for the golden rock, he tried to block us. Great Saint Zhu Yan said, he withdrew the magic matrix of the fairy mountain. If we take advantage of the situation to counterattack, he won't be able to escape so easily. He can only use the magic matrix of the fairy mountain to block us. His pair of crimson eyes flashed with green light. If the person in charge is his disciple, then it's fine. If it's his clone, then there's still a chance that he can break the seal on his heaven-punishing sword. If we forcefully counterattack, it's hard to say who will win. No one knows if he took the sword away or not. The great sage's expression became calm, and he said lightly, we've helped the golden rock restrain this celestial mountain, the great formation, and a creation magic treasure. We've done our best. The rest will depend on the golden rock himself. We are afraid of the heaven-punishing sword of the master of the celestial sect of wonders. How could the master of the celestial sect of wonders easily unseal the sword? If he brings the sword to the golden rock, as soon as he shows it, we'll immediately break the magic matrix of the fairy mountain. If he doesn't take the sword away, we'll restrain the heaven-punishing sword as well. Most of the pressure on Xianmen Tianzong will be borne by us. If the golden rock still can't succeed, then he can only blame himself for being incompetent. There was something that the great sage didn't say, but great Saint Zhu Yan was well aware of. Although he didn't master the dark flower of Yuda like the enchantress, so the two great demons of the ape clan didn't know what the golden rock saint had done, it couldn't be a small matter. If the golden rock saint really succeeded and his strength improved greatly, it wouldn't be something that the great sage and great Saint Zhu Yan would be happy to see. Therefore, they wouldn't put in all their effort to delay Lin Feng's return to the Divine Land, and it was even more impossible for them to attack with all their strength to find out where Lin Feng's heaven-punishing sword was. Moreover, if they really forced Lin Feng into a corner, he would completely ignore the Golden Rock and turn back to fight to the death with the Ape Clan. It wouldn't be in the Ape Clan's interest at all. Great Saint Zhu Yan said, "It's just that in this way, we'll still be covering for the Thunder Abyss Golden Rock. For us, there won't be any gains. If we can't get rid of the Master of the Profound Gate in the end, we'll gain nothing." The great sage said silently, "How is that possible?" "It's just that it's inconvenient for me and you, Zhuri, to leave the Spirit Abyss mountain range. This is also the bottom line of the Master of the Profound Gate. He might not have the time to care about what the other children want to do. It's true that we've restrained part of the Master of the Profound Gate's energy for the Golden Rock, but if he goes deep into the hinterland of the Divine Land, won't he also attract the attention of a large number of top strong practitioners of the human race? Everyone just wants to see who can seize the opportunity, although the situation is worse than expected." Zhu Yan's expression also calmed down. "If you and I don't leave the Spirit Abyss Mountain, the children can't take down Mount Shu and Taihua Mountain by themselves." The great sage opened his mouth wide and smiled ferociously. "Wait patiently. The situation is changing all the time. Isn't this a layer of change in front of us? As for the children, let them go to other places to exercise their muscles first. They can't take down the big targets, but there are many small ones." In the Spirit Abyss mountain range where the demonic atmosphere soared to the sky, rays of brilliance suddenly scattered outwards. The monstrous demonic atmosphere rose up to resist Yujing Mountain and the yin and yang life and death formation. The giant black ape that the great sage had transformed into was indomitable, extremely violent under the power of the Spirit Abyss Mountain. At the top of Yujing Mountain, Lin Feng's avatar of the God of War looked at this scene calmly. As long as the two great demons of the Age of Dharma, the Great Sage and Great Saint Zhu Yan, did not leave the Spirit Abyss Mountain, he would not continue to exert force. This could be considered a tacit understanding between both sides. If there was no special need, no one would cross this bottom line first. Instead, they would wait for other places to break the stalemate. Golden Rock Great Sage had actually gone to the Great Thunderclap Monastery, the battlefield of the previous war between the two worlds, and caused such a huge commotion. This was indeed out of Lin Feng's expectations, and it also attracted the attention of Lin Feng and the other strong practitioners of the human race. As the battlefield of the previous war, it had naturally been carefully cleaned and inspected by the strong practitioners of the Taishu Temple, the Great Thunderclap Monastery, and the other human forces after the war, but in the end, they found nothing. This might have something to do with the fact that the Haotian mirror had not fully recovered after the war, or that the secrets within were too deep. In any case, Golden Rock Great Sage's sudden strange move was out of everyone's expectations. In particular, the abnormality caused by Golden Rock Great Sage was very likely related to the Yuhuang Celestial Sea in the past. Like Lin Feng and Golden Rock Great Sage, the Enchantress, who possessed the Yuda Netherflower, would most likely be able to sense it even if he was in the vast land of Heaven Wasteland. This abnormality could very well attract the Enchantress over. Under such circumstances, Lin Feng swapped places with his avatar of the God of War without hesitation, personally dealing with the abnormality caused by Golden Rock Great Sage. He had attacked the Spirit Abyss mountain range in order to lure Golden Rock and Heavenly Enchantress out, but this time, he had caught an unexpected strange fish. As for the strong practitioners of the ape race other than the Great Sage and Great Saint Zhu Yan leaving the Spirit Abyss mountain range, this was still within the scope of acceptance of Lin Feng and the cultivation world of the human race. Naturally, Lin Feng would spread the news as soon as possible. Wang Lin, Shi Tianhao, and the other disciples of Xianmen Tianzong were also prepared. Lin Feng had returned to the Divine Land and looked at the black hole in the sky with a calm expression. Majestic purple chi lifted him up, sweeping up all the plants and rocks in the surroundings. They flew up rapidly, brushing past Lin Feng and getting swallowed by the black hole in an instant. The purple-gold radiance in the distance was naturally the Grand Imperial Palace. Zhou Diliang sat cross-legged in the Grand Imperial Palace, but he didn't raise his head to look at the outside world. Instead, he lowered his head to look at the ground under his feet. The edges of the neat square bricks on the ground were also flowing with a demonic and overbearing purple brilliance, forming a network that looked like a grid. Back in the Cloud Forest realm, Liang Pan and the Grand Imperial Palace had also obtained a portion of the Yuda Netherflower, but Liang Pan didn't refine it. Instead, he sacrificed it to the Grand Imperial Palace to help it repair its damage and become a great source of power. However, at this moment, under the black hole, the Grand Imperial Palace also reacted. Liang Pan looked at this scene and sank into deep thought. However, his movements didn't stop. The Grand Imperial Palace was also resisting the suction force of the black hole. At the same time, it was neither fast nor slow, rising at its own pace. On the other side, white clouds curled up, and in the clouds, there were black and white air currents swirling continuously, supporting Yan Nanlai's body. Yan Nanlai looked at the huge black hole, and the Great Void inscription gradually appeared on the back of his left hand. At this moment, his expression was also grim. In the battle back then, the void was destroyed, and the heaven fell and the earth cracked. Yu Huang's celestial sea was killed, and his body turned into a black hole. In the end, he collapsed and was destroyed in the Great Thousand Worlds. To think that there are still traces of him left. Could that place really be his burial ground? On the other side, as Lin Feng rose up, he was also carefully sensing the waves of energy in the black hole. It was vast and yet silent. Could it really be the remains of Yu Huang's celestial sea? It doesn't feel like it. It's more like after his body and soul were destroyed, the scattered energy gradually gathered here, isolated in the void outside the Great Thousand Worlds, making it hard to trace. However, there is a faint connection with the Great Thousand Worlds. This is the place where the final battle took place. Lin Feng stared at the figure of the Golden Rock Great Sage, who had turned into a beam of golden light. But this connection is almost broken, and needs a special catalyst to open it. Otherwise, it will forever be like a kite with a broken string. Only by reconnecting the string can it be pulled back to the earth. If the string can't be reconnected, even if the Haotian mirror is fully restored, it might not be able to find any clues. The higher they went, the stronger the suction force of the black hole became. However, under the condition that they didn't lose control, Lin Feng and the others also began to consciously increase their speed, preparing to enter the black hole. The Golden Rock Great Sage looked back and coldly said, "My main body can actually reach the Great Thunderclap Temple so quickly?" Since he dared to make a move, he naturally wouldn't think of helping others. Most of the top experts of the human race who were still in the Divine Land would rush over. This was all within his expectations. However, even though he knew that Lin Feng had attacked the Spirit Abyss mountain range on purpose to lure him out, he was still shocked that Lin Feng's main body could return to the Divine Land so quickly and appear in the Great Thunderclap Temple in an instant. His doppelganger and his main body actually exchanged places across the boundary of two worlds. The Golden Rock Great Sage took a deep breath, flapped his wings, and flew quickly. At this moment, the arrow was already knocked on the bow, and there was no choice but to release it. The Golden Rock Great Sage let out a long cry, and in the center of the black hole, an extremely dazzling purple light flashed again. The first piece of bone appeared again, flashing with a soul-stirring light, causing even Lin Feng, Yan Nanlai, and Liang Pan to look at it.